Hello, everybody. I am going to change my name because right now it's showing up as Tiffany Hampton. So rename, I'm going to be Heidi Nottinson. Okay. Can you all hear me?
I can.
Yes. Okay. And let me just see how many of you are on this call. It looks like we have, if I do gallery view, a lot, which is great. Okay. How many of you, if you raise your hand, are from the Greater Portland Market Center? Okay, so just a small handful. Okay, great. And then the rest of you are in New England? Fantastic. And how many of you are fairly new agents? Okay, so we have maybe half new agents and half of you are just retaking the Ignite series. Excellent. Okay, so this is my first time teaching this module, and I'm really excited to be doing this. And we're going to go over a day in the life of a real estate agent. And so for a lot of us, that could mean procrastinating because we're all human. Is that right? I see a lot of smiles. Okay, and some of you are like ready to kill it and you want to just get more proficient at what to do in a day. So do you want me to give you a little bit of background of who I am? Okay, I'm seeing some nods. Great, because participation is really good. So feel free to unmute yourself at any time. All right, so I've been an agent with the Keller Williams Greater Portland office for about 10 years. So 10 years in real estate, maybe it's close to 11. And I started as a solo agent. And then after about a year, I went to a team because I wasn't doing the things that I was supposed to do. And I kept going to one of our market center owners. And I said, okay, so, I really want listings and I don't want to be on a team. So, can I keep being a solo agent? You either do what you're supposed to do or you don't. And only you know that by the discipline of what you're supposed to do. So in the meantime, an agent kind of kept courting me and asking me to do open houses for her. So we got to know each other. And I ended up joining her team after about maybe a year and a half. And I stayed on her team as a buyer agent for about 3 years and then realized, okay, I really want to do a lot more than just buyers. And I couldn't do listings and buyers while I was on her team. So I left the team. And then I've been a solo agent ever since. And it hasn't been until about maybe a year and a half ago that I started leveraging my time with having some other people do some work. So now instead of me doing the photos, which I love to do because I'm a creative person and I want to do everything, now I'm having somebody do the photography for maybe 2/3 of my listings, and that's saving me some time. I do leverage my time with having a sign person put in the signpost. And I do now use a contract to close team for some of my compliance work, not all of it. And I still haven't relinquished too much to them, but sometimes I will also have them upload my listings. And so I have been able to buy back time. And so, that way a day in the life of a real estate agent is me doing more agent things rather than everything than I used to do. So, how would it be if you were like, what would life feel like to you? I guess you could ask this question, is if you were super efficient with your time. So if you were efficient with your time, oh, somebody's asking a question. Who do you use for photography? Okay, so I have to ask you, David, are you in the Greater Portland office or are you elsewhere in New England?
I'm had to pass in my associate broker's license when I was diagnosed with cancer. I'm cancer free now, and then went through the treatment, a lot of radiation, a lot of chemo, head and neck cancer, and then I had chronic fatigue, and so I'm hopefully meeting with Chelsea on Friday afternoon to come into the group again
Okay,
in
so
Portland. Yeah.
um Okay. And when you asked though who I use for photography, do you mean like, do I hire a local photographer or is it some
Yeah,
company?
or is it some kid down the street?
Okay, okay. So yeah, and so and I'm in Greater Portland and so is he. So he is local and he can actually show up at the home. So what I do is I contact somebody. He does those uses the software that does those 3D
Yeah,
photo video things.
right.
So that way I can get the drone shots, I can get that to lead them through a house, especially if it's a complicated floor plan. And it would show, and the floor plans are created too. So it's leveraging my time because I'm not taking the 2 hours to go to the property, take all the photos, and for me, it's usually another 2 hours to edit them because I want everything kind of perfect, and then put them all in the right order, et cetera, et cetera. So with him doing that, it's actually saving me probably 5 hours of time. And with
Oh,
that, I had to relinquish a lot of control and a lot of that, like, well, I want everything perfect and I want it my way because, is that perfection, is that need for perfection important or ultimately super important? Or can I just kind of let go of that so I can do other things that I should be doing in the day of a life of real estate agent? So I guess to really answer your question, it's a professional photographer that has the 3D software.
okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does anybody else have any photography questions? Okay, I don't see anything. I don't have a co-monitor that on this, so I'm also, I have to look at the chat box as we go.
You do. I'm actually your monitor.
Oh, you are. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Okay. So, to when we talk about though, like how one could become efficient, why would you want to be efficient with your time? Does anybody have any thoughts with that? What would be the benefit of being efficient?
Being productive, having more time, being more efficient allows you to get more work done because you'll have a system that actually works. And so it's like almost being like a fisherman. If you're catching the fish, scaling the fish, cutting the fish, cleaning the fish, selling the fish, that's a lot of time that one person is doing when one person could just get the fish. Someone else could cut it, someone else could clean it, someone else could sell it, and then you'd have more time to catch more fish.
Right. And any other thoughts about efficiency? Because I like that. That's a great analogy. Any other ways of looking at the benefit of being more efficient?
Maybe to have some work-life balance and not have a burnout.
Yes, that is absolutely the other side of it. So we're either looking for being more efficient so that we have more time for free time, work-life balance, or we want to be more efficient so we can go catch more fish and bring in more fish so that we have more money or then could feed more people on our team or something like that. So and another way could be that we just are maybe flailing less and losing less opportunities because we are like too many pieces of paper just kind of like floating around. So any other questions about efficiency before we move away? Because I'll give you little nuggets and a couple of checklists that I've created as we move through this. Yes, Maureen?
Yeah, I'm just wondering in terms of somebody who's just starting out, what if you're paying all those people, if you're maybe gun shy about putting all that money out, and that would be the main thing that would make me want to do it myself, is I'm afraid to start paying people to do these things when I'm just starting out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and yes, there's a cost to kind of shedding away some of your income for other people. And sometimes people pay somebody because it's something that they don't know how to do or truly do not like to do because it just makes them crazy. Like I actually this year paid out, I have somebody mowing my lawn now, and I can mow my lawn, but I hate it. I don't mind once I'm doing it, but I don't like that feeling that just weighs me down, the procrastination part. I don't have a shed. I don't have a garage. I don't want to have to worry about the lawnmower. And so it became worth it to me to do something, to have somebody else do something that I didn't like to do. But I think that there's a lot of benefit when you're a new agent to do some of everything, because when you're doing some of everything now, you understand like more nitty gritty about what it really takes. So if you're doing the photos, it's like you're the one that knows when you're looking through that camera, you know, what are extraneous things that don't need to be in the photograph, you know, or um, uh, how the rooms are going to connect to each other to tell the story. And if you just have a photographer come and they're just giving you a package of photos, well, you may have missed the opportunity, because if you're doing it, that you would have included maybe a transition room or a hallway that showed like these three rooms kind of connect to each other from here. So I think that there's a good reason for doing things yourself to start with. And then you can potentially become a better communicator to in the future to somebody you hire, because you're the one that is, you know, driving the bus in terms of like really guiding them of what it is you need for that unique property or client or whatever. So I am a fan of just like learning all the steps yourself and then slowly shedding away the things that you don't need to do, because you can either become more efficient or, you know, just don't need to do those things. So I think for me too, it's just become a matter of like, what am I really willing to give up control? Do I have to control everything? So we'll get into like that 80-20 principle that will help us, you know, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper too. Okay. So let's talk about motivation versus discipline. Are you motivated to be on this call? Okay, like Anthony, I see you kind of not
I'm motivated, I guess.
Okay, so how is it that you appear to be motivated? You're here, right?
Mhm.
You've shown up. Okay. Is motivation different than discipline?
Yes,
Why?
because I am definitely motivated to go to the gym. 100%. I used to go a lot more, and my schedule right now, I have not been going. I'm like, whatever, I can see when I can go. I'm going to go and just cram it all into one day, and that's kind of the discipline thing. If I was disciplined, I'd be like, okay, you know, whatever. It's worth it to drive down there. I'll go down there. Oh, it's late, or oh, it's early, but I'm like, I'll go once and do a little bit of everything instead of, you know, split it all up and all that stuff.
Okay, and even if you're at the gym, are
Mhm.
you, when you're even there, are you motivated or are you
Oh
just
yeah. I would say when I'm there, because I've barely been getting there, I'd say I'm definitely motivated, because I'm like, oh, I want to do all the stuff, as opposed, you know, I'm like, oh, I'll just do a little bit of everything instead of cram it all into one. But that's kind of a weird example.
Okay, well, that with that example though, I mean, if you're motivated, you're showing up, you have your gear in your hand and you know,
Mhm.
your water bottle, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then once you're there, do you already have the plan?
Yeah.
Exactly, you know, what pieces of equipment and what repetition and, you know, like exactly what you're going to do. You already know what you're accomplishing.
Yep.
And do you do it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
the easy part.
that's the
I'm like,
discipline.
I'm not going
Okay.
there today. I'm too, got another Zoom, this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. I'm going to bed. That's my thing.
Okay. And we're gonna dive deeper today into the difference also between being sort of moderately disciplined and being truly disciplined. And I will give you some tools on that as well. Okay. One other chat thing. Okay, there was a yes. Okay, sorry. And all right. Now let's think about when you go on vacation. Do you suddenly become super, super productive and create a list for everything that you need to do to be able to achieve going on vacation? Yes. I see.
I don't, I just go.
You just go? Okay. Well, if I
Doing
were to,
that this week right now, and I call it vacation nesting because all of a sudden you're like have 15 lists and you're like superwoman getting everything done. So
right. And it doesn't matter how much you have to get done, you will actually get that done, right? Because there's no way that anything's going to come between you and vacation. Okay. What if we applied that same superwoman nesting approach to our everyday? Would we be more productive? Would we get bigger results? Do we want bigger results? Well, maybe yes, but maybe we don't, you know? So journaling is also a nice thing to accompany whatever you do with your discipline or your being productive, like at the end of the day or in the middle of the day, to journal a little bit about what I did well or what I still could have done better, you know, because maybe that nesting instinct or that, you know, that superwoman list that you do, maybe you could have accomplished it all even more efficiently or had an extra hour to sleep before accomplishing it all. So there are always ways to tweak what it is that we're doing and get even different results. So, all right, does anybody want to give their own life as a real estate agent? What does somebody know what they do as a typical day, a habitual sort of day? Does anybody have a habitual day in real estate? Trevor?
Well, since I'm not working with a client right now, most of it is, calling and lead gen. Pretty much all day.
Fantastic. And follow up too?
Yep.
Okay. So, and are you also taking time to tweak any systems you have, work on a listing presentation or buyer presentation?
Yeah, I've been dabbling with that a little bit. I've got a couple people that are interested in some things. So I've been doing some CMAs, trying to get them interested in selling their property. So that's, being new at it takes a lot of time, especially the one I have is very complicated because it's a mechanical garage with 2 homes on the same property.
Okay. And great. And do you also take any time within your day to do script practice with anybody?
I do.
Excellent. And do you also take time to evaluate any finances, like track anything like expenses or your budget or anything like that?
I'm a month behind on my bills, so no.
Okay. So,
I start my day by doing some required reading, like this book I just finished, and moving on to the next one. A little inspiration to start the day.
nice. Okay. So that's a great, day in the life of a real estate agent, that you're filling in more of something while you have more time on your hands because you don't have a transaction currently to work on.
Mhm.
So you're not wasting your day. Does anybody else have more of like one of those like sort of perfect scenarios they want to share? Trevor was reading the one thing, Brianna, to answer your question.
It's excellent. I highly recommend it.
It is really great. And I can tell you a little bit about the human side of me. I work from home. Probably most of you work from home. I work from home. I live in a really small space. The bathroom is located through the kitchen. So every time I go to the bathroom, I'm passing by the refrigerator. So I tend to procrastinate a lot by grabbing some more food to eat. Although I've discovered that if I make large quantities of food in a week, that at least if I'm procrastinating, I'm not stopping to cook a meal and I'm eating healthy food. So I'm trying to stack on little good habits along the way, even though I might be procrastinating along the way. But Trevor, like you, I like to think about like, what is my one mindset thing that I want to focus on each day? And I have kind of an analogy for the things that I don't do well. So let's picture for a second a motorboat, okay? And does anybody go water skiing, or have you done any water skiing or boating? Has anybody gone on a boat, a motorboat? All right. So, when you're on a motorboat and you're looking forward, the water is usually like much more calm facing forward than backwards, right? Facing backwards in the boat, like in between the wake where someone's water skiing, it's all really, really, really choppy. Okay. That's all the history. That's everything that was messy stuff that had happened yesterday. So if somebody, no, your boat's broken. Okay. Bummer. So everything that happened messy yesterday or this morning or last month, that's all the negative chatter stuff that we didn't do well. Okay. I used to say a lot of, like, all the time, oh, I suck at lead generation. I suck at it. I suck at it. That was the story that was playing in my head until I realized, and I was actually on a boat and I was like, oh, if I face backward and face the history, yeah, I kind of sucked at lead generation before. Yet if I'm facing the front of the boat, there's absolutely no reason why for this moment in time or the next 10 or 15 minutes, why I can't be good. So I started telling myself a different story for everything that I wanted to get better is I'm going to face forward in the boat, and in my Canadian accent, my boat. And so facing forward in the boat means that I have every possibility to do anything that I want to do better right now for the next 10 minutes. Or today I can have a perfect day in the life of a real estate agent with wasting less time. Does that kind of thing resonate? Is that helpful to anybody, that analogy? If it is, I actually drew a motorboat with just 2 squiggly lines on the back of it. And I had an index card with that image on my wall for about 2 years. And I realized I stopped playing that story in my head of the negativity because I always realized I could face forward in the motorboat. So that was super helpful to me. Okay. I have a checklist and I want to do a screen share to show you this particular checklist. And it is a little hack that has helped me get more efficient. And let me just pull it up first so I can do a screen share. Okay, now let me go back to Zoom and say share screen. Sorry, just trying to see where you guys are. Okay, back to full screen share. Back to my checklist page. Okay, tell me if you can see my screen right now. Okay, so you see this checklist right here? Now, this one checklist has helped me become more efficient as an agent. So I mean, I'm not like excellent, but I can have about like, I don't know, 6 to 11 properties under contract at one time. And I can function pretty well with a contract to close team and having this. So these checklists, I have one for every single property. I have one for every buyer and one seller. And I don't put these at the beginning of a binder or anything. I actually have a bunch of these all in one skinny folder. And this is the one thing and a notebook that I take with me through the day. So if I get an interruption at any point in the day and just say an appraiser calls, then I can just ask the appraiser, the name, their ID, the company, their email, when they're going out, when the appraisals due, and I can write it down at the time. Anything else that I get, like as soon as I get somebody under contract, I fill out some of these things like the price and the earnest money and who holds it and da 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 da. And if I end up finding out, who the title company is, I write everything down at a time. And the reason why I'm showing you this checklist is because this is one thing that allows any kind of interruption to my day. And I feel like at the same time I'm getting interrupted, I have a way of efficiently gathering that information that will make it faster for me to do anything further into the transaction that I need to do. And you're welcome to, if you want me to give you a copy of this, I can add it to the chat during our free time, and you can rip this off and change it around and do whatever you need to do as well. Okay, so does anybody find this helpful to have an efficient tool? I got a thumbs up. I didn't know we could do a thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to show you another tool that I have found that has become being more efficient. Okay, it's this tool here, and you can still see the share screen, right? Okay, so you guys are really quiet, by the way. You're welcome to like just start talking at any point. All right, this one I ripped off from one of the bold, let's see. Yeah, I think it was bold during COVID. And I just added a few more lines to it. So every single week I'll put a different date and I'll put the next D to D2, doing the database too. So I know what I'm focusing on for the week. And anytime that I actually make a call, I'll put a dash line, like a diagonal dash line through, like, just say number 1. If I'm making the dial, it's a dash. If I reach them, I do a circle over the dash. And if I've made an appointment, then I fill in the circle so it's solid. And so anytime I get appointments by the end of the week, I can know, like, okay, all this solid circles, I just created 5 listing appointments for the week. So I do that with the text messaging, direct messaging somebody for social media. If I've written an email, I try to send out 5 notes a week, but obviously I have 25 lines here that I could send out personal notes of 25. And if I meet people face to face. So this is my like one other tool that I use that just keeps me kind of like dialed in, knowing what it is that I'm supposed to do each
I
week.
have a question, if you
Yeah.
don't. And feel free to tell me. I mean, I'm really at the beginning and I'm really in the initial learning stages. So if this is like way off, just tell me to be quiet. But when you say phone calls, text messages, who are you calling? I mean, where are you getting these numbers and who are they?
Okay, great. So that's a great question. It's not off base at all. Okay, so if it's face-to-face people, to me, that's often like when I'm out doing errands. So that could mean the supermarket or when I'm at a town hall, something like that. And let me just do a stop share so I can see who is it that's asking the question.
Maureen.
Okay, Maureen. Okay. So the face-to-face would be that. The direct messages would be, that's like any kind of like Facebook messaging somebody on Facebook. So that's like Facebook friends, or sometimes friends of friends. Or if I put out some kind of like ad and now I see like who commented on an advertisement or something, those people I'm direct messaging. So they're either people I really know or I don't really know them. Doing things like sending handwritten notes. So like, here's one. Okay. I saw on Facebook a couple days ago, somebody had mentioned that his mother had died. And it's just like, he was just like, it sucks having a parent that died. No, I didn't know, like looking back on Facebook, I couldn't tell, did that just happen that week? Or was that like years ago? I had no idea. So I left him, I started to dial him. So it was a dial, but I didn't leave a message. And I didn't know what I wanted to say. So I decided, okay, he didn't pick up. I'm just going to write a handwritten note. And it was just a really nice note. And I put it in the mail. Yet that night he called me on the phone. He called me back. I said, I saw that you called. So I asked him, like, I didn't know if that was recent or not, but like, sorry, you're going through a really tough time. And he said, yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, but I am going through a tough time because I actually think I need to sell my home and I didn't expect I'd have to sell so soon. Had nothing to do with the mother that was dying. And so now the fact that I reached out, I actually have a listing appointment. I did not expect it. But on my checklist, I wrote that I did a handwritten note and I did a dial. And then I ended up having a conversation. So now it got a circle over the diagonal. And it's not a listing appointment yet because we haven't scheduled it. I mean, technically he has to ask his partner first. And I think I'm going to get the listing appointment. Yet that's going to be one of my calls today to follow up.
So you're just building relationships.
I'm
just
continuing relationships,
way.
building relationships. Also, like, how we had the KW care, Red Day. We had Red Day last month. So for Red Day, I went around and I talked to neighbors that some of them I knew, but most of them I didn't know. And I was asking for if they wanted to leave any food in the red bags that I would pick up later that day or the following day. And now those are people that would be like considered face-to-face people. Yet anybody that said that they would leave a red bag, I'd be like, okay, do you want me to just like grab your phone number so you could text me if you want. Here's my card. You can text me later when you have the red bag on your doorstep, and I'll be happy to just go drive back and pick it up. So now I know where they live and I have their phone number. So after Red Day was over, now I sent a handwritten note so I could check that off on the checklist, a handwritten note to everybody that participated and just say, hey, collectively, our market center collected 3,400 pounds of food for the Good Shepherd Food Bank. Thank you so much for participating. It was nice meeting you. So now I got like some of those people I called and some of them were handwritten notes, and I had more people to add to my checklist. So some of it's really organic and some of it's really a plan. Like Trevor, you're filling in your time with making calls because you don't have a transaction you're currently working on. So like you have a plan around who you're calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who, like what kinds of people do you have when you know today I have 2 hours free I'm going to make calls?
Right now, I've been reaching out to all my prior clients in my last business who I worked for 18 years. So I have a very good relationship with most of them. And we haven't really spoken in a year since they laid me off. So now I'm reaching out, letting them know that I'm not going back to that company and what I'm up to, and asking for business and asking for referrals.
Great. Excellent. And somebody just said, do I have a public records checklist? And the answer is yes, my market center has a public checklist. So one of the things that I do for the public records checklist is I take it with me, and on the back of it, I write everything that's in the public records file, in the code enforcement file, and I take a picture of all of those things. Then when I get back to my office, I fill out the rest of the public records checklist, and I complete it that way. But it's the checklist itself. I mean, there's not much to it. If you want me to send you our market center's checklist, I can, but I don't know what the requirements are in your market center. So, but I'd be happy to send that as well. I'll write a note for that. Okay. Let's go over the 80-20 principle, because I've had some really big mind shift kinds of thoughts around that over time, and I've been slowly adding to it. And I find that that's like one of the biggest things in like the day of a life of a real estate agent. So I'm going to do another screen share and screen share my whiteboard with you. Okay, so share. All right, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm just gonna like draw on here. All right, so 80-20. All right, which of the things for me as an agent should I be concentrating? Are they the 80 or the 20?
20.
Okay, why is that? Because some people don't know what this whole idea is.
Well, after reading the one thing, it's about attacking the big rocks, the things that matter most. And if you accomplish the 20% that's going to give you most of your results, then you have more time, you're more efficient. And in the end, it's going to make everything else easier.
Right. Okay. And that's true. And the 20% of people in your market center get 80% of the results. Is that true?
Not sure.
It actually is approximately, seems like less people get more done than most people. It kind of, every law in nature sort of is something with 80-20. So if the 20% were the things that I had to do, let's call it me. Okay. Oops, I'm not drawing too well. That's me. And this 80% is somebody else. Okay. So let's just call the somebody else part leverage. Having leverage in some way. Okay, did I spell leverage right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So if the 20% is the me tasks, that means everything that I would need to do as a real estate agent would be like making calls, right? What other things do I need to do that are like only I can do? Any other ideas?
Education.
Okay, so I need to learn stuff.
Open houses.
Okay, so we're gonna park the open houses over here. Okay,
Handwritten notes.
calls and follow-up calls, right? I'm gonna call them FU for follow-up, but that doesn't sound really nice, does it? Okay. All right, wait a second. I actually call, all right, so not to be like totally obnoxious, I call the calls on my own like little shorthand. I call it lead generation, LG. And so for follow-up, I do LGFU. But let's just say follow-up. Okay. All right. Now let me challenge you on a couple of things. All right. If we say that, is it possible that open houses and notes could potentially go over to somebody else doing these for me? What would that look like? How could that happen?
Well, you can get somebody else to do the open houses. And if somebody else has great penmanship, they could do the notes. But at open houses, you get buyers who are not necessarily associated with any agent yet. So that's a source of potential buyers that you could have.
True.
Your leverage is hiring people, sourcing.
Could be sourcing. Now, what if it's somebody else preparing a binder with all the information in it for the open house, or potentially going out and putting out all the signs, maybe getting balloons and putting the balloons out, and creating the social media post to announce that you're having the open house. And then you show up to have the relationship part that only you can do because you're the agent. And you're meeting the potential sellers that are neighbors that aren't yet on the market and they're curious, and the unrepresented buyers. So you could do an open house where you're doing some of this and somebody else is doing some of this. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could break down that one category into leveraging a whole bunch of tasks over here for somebody, that you could assign for somebody to do. Now, not if you're a new agent, you're going to do everything. But over time, you can actually say within an open house, you could have a separate 80-20 sheet for just open houses and all the tasks that you're going to do and all the tasks that somebody else is going to do. How could you do the same thing for notes? All right, let me challenge you. What if it was like a note about like a new property is on the market and you wanted to let the whole neighborhood know about it? Do you have to do that whole note, or can somebody else do some of that for you?
You could have your marketing do that. Is that
Yep.
what you're asking?
Yep.
Yeah. Which they could also do the open house stuff, like the sign, that stuff you were talking about beforehand.
Yep. And you could have a child who's home, or somebody like put all the return address labels and stamps on all those and lick all the envelopes. Right? So you don't have to spend, I know when I've done note cards for something, like I find the note cards really effective, but somehow it takes me it seems like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours to do the whole thing, including going to the store and getting enough envelopes, making sure I have all those stamps. I don't know, it just somehow takes so long for me to do all of that. And yes, I'm getting a client, but boy, all those other tasks that I need to do as a real estate agent, in a day, it seems like the notes are like things that takes me half the day right there. So you could have an 80-20 sheet just on notes. You can create an 80-20 for anything. So what I have done, I learned this from somebody like maybe 4 years ago, is in my regular to-do list of anything that I do in a day, as I'm writing down all my to-dos, like, dot, 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 all the way down a sheet, is as I'm writing them down, I put them onto one side or the other. Even if I'm the only person doing all of the 20 and all of the 80, I have trained my brain over time to say which aspect should be in this column here in the 20% column, and which should be in the 80% column. I'm going to do all of them if I'm a solo agent. Is that right? I have to do everything. I have to even put the notes in the mailbox. But if I write out what things go in the 20% and what things go in the 80%, then I know that down the line, when I'm ready to hire leverage, I already am knowing what is truly my role and what should be a role managed by somebody else. Is that something that you could do?
Yes.
Is that helpful to anybody else?
Yes.
Okay, cool. It's weird when I'm doing the screen share because then I can't see anybody. I can't see nodding heads.
I'm reconsidering having children now. I'm thinking like I'm missing a huge employment opportunity. I can just, okay, lick all these, get this ready. We're going to the post office. Get them all, get them working. That's what you got to do. If you got them, hey,
right,
working them.
I
They like it too. Like,
remember-
oh, I'm doing.
My father owned a foreign car parts business, and I do remember in elementary school, he carted me and my siblings to his place. It was like, I don't know, once a month, and they did a big mailer, and I loved it. I mean, I got paid, who knows what, I don't even know idea how much how little he was paying me, but it was really fun. It was like, wow, I could find ways to become efficient. He didn't have to do the work, and he was teaching us something, some kind of life lesson or something. But there absolutely are ways that we don't have to do everything. So what are the 5 things we have to do? Like in a day of a real estate agent, what are the 5 roles we have to do?
Lead gen.
Yep. That's one. What's the FU part?
Follow up.
Yep, the lead gen follow-up. We have to go on appointments. Those listing appointments, that's for us to go on, right? We're the ones that are the high-level consultant people, right? So we have to go on appointments.
Preview properties.
We could preview properties, and maybe that's also something potentially that we could leverage.
Okay.
Let's park that one and come back to that one for a sec, okay? In a sec, I mean. The other thing we need to do is we need to negotiate contracts. Although I guess we could have a negotiator for us, but that's part of that bigger consulting thing, right? So we would negotiate the contracts.
Why do we have to negotiate contracts every day if maybe not every day we have a contract to negotiate?
So
That's a great point. Let's just say we did have a property. Just say every single week we were listing a property and we were closing a property. And so that means conceivably in that same week, there's something to also negotiate or show a property. Okay. But your job, your role that you can't give to somebody else could potentially be that you're doing the lead generation, you're doing the follow-up for it, you're going on the appointments, you're negotiating the contracts, like giving clients advice, and you're doing like your scripts and role play and learning. So nobody else can learn the scripts and role play except for you, right? You have to do that in order to learn it. You have to go through that pain or that process or that habit to do that. So all those other sorts of things, like we're going to still go over other things to do in a course of a day, but the parked item that we were just parked, Courtney, what was that? It was.
What's that?
What was the item that we just parked? Your thought that I said, let's just park that one first.
Negotiating contracts.
Okay, so negotiating contracts. Oh no, it was about showing property.
I think that might have been Linda that said that.
Okay, somebody said about previewing property.
I did.
Okay. That was who? Linda. Okay. So previewing property. Now, yes, previewing property is going to give you great perspective on like what money could buy, for a certain property, and you're going to maybe know what buyer it's going to be good for and all that. But is it possible that you could, if you end up with a team, have somebody on your team previewing property and writing down characteristics of a property and putting them on some kind of spreadsheet and reporting them back? It's
Yeah.
conceivable.
Yes. Right now, I just want to know myself. Like going in, I want to be able to figure it out myself and be able to bounce it off other people, but I need to learn these things. So that's why I want to go in and see as many properties as I can so I can get an idea of what things are going for and why.
And that is super important. And you're right. That's the only way you're going to learn. And the only way you're going to learn about stuff like how a house functions too is to actually show up at your home inspections. Yet some people will challenge you and say, oh, well, why do you have to be at a home inspection? Because, just the client needs to be there with the inspector. But you're going to learn by being there and observing and asking questions. So yes, Courtney?
So I'm sorry if I have already missed this. I was in the All Partners meeting prior, so I was a little late. But if we are, assuming we're all new agents here, and I read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and they say source out as soon as possible, which is really kind of what you're saying is source out as soon as possible. So when is it feasible? Is it just when it makes sense monetary wise, like as soon as you can afford to hire somebody, that's when you do it, or do you
So I'm actually, it is a great question. And yes, it's in the MREA, and maybe I'm not the right person to answer it because I've been an individual agent, aside from when I was a buyer agent for almost 3 years, toward the beginning of my almost 11 years. And I've been an individual agent ever since. I still intend to have an executive assistant. I intend to have a buyer agent. I haven't pulled the trigger yet on certain things. And so I think it kind of the answer to your question could still depend on what your goals are. If you're taking the team model and the team approach, or your goal is to net $1 million, then there is that path to get there. And whatever the book says is a proven method to do that. But my goal isn't in alignment with that goal. My goals are slightly different. Now, I think the path that I'm taking is maybe wasting some time along the way. It's like a very windy path. And it's like this journey for me. Yet without having people and people power, I have not invited drama into my world.
Mhm.
And I like the avoidance of the drama aspect because I don't want that. I like devoting the energy and the effort into the clients and don't mind that they might have some drama that I can help them through. I think I'm really good at like the social work, psychology aspect of things, but I haven't wanted that in my own personal life. I like to simplify. And then my goal is to retire on time. And maybe I could probably retire, when I say on time, like just buying back time, by the time I'm 65, I could probably get there faster if I follow the MREA model. Yet at the same time, I know I'm shaving away money too. Yet if I'm doing that, it's supposed to double or triple what I'm bringing in. So I'm not the perfect person to answer that question because I've been a little bit personally resistant to
Well,
follow.
so Heidi, I know that, I like I said, I'm a newer agent, but I've seen you on the All Partners meetings, and I know that you take like 1 day a week off, right?
Yes, I do.
And yeah, and I think that that's so admirable. Like, I love that. And it's just like your time for you, and like, that's it. So you say wasting time, but I think that your time is really well spent, just, from a new outside perspective. But so do you have an executive assistant? Do you have somebody that does all of this stuff for you?
No, what you had missed, and that's okay, is the leverage that I did start building in this past year is that now I have somebody doing my photos, and I'm utilizing Contract to Close for some of my transactions, but I'm not utilizing them to the degree that I could be because I haven't relinquished all the control yet. I'm still holding too many pieces to myself, but I'm slowly unwinding that. Yes, Maureen?
Did you have photography experience prior?
I did not. So my background, my personal background, I have a major in commercial interior design, not residential, but I am a creative person. And so I have a good visual sense. And so for me, like staging comes naturally, photography, it comes naturally, just sort of setting up the space. So I like doing the photography because it's like a little art project for myself. I like editing all the photos, which is why it takes me a long time when I do it. So so if you're not good at photography though, if you're really bad at it, then don't do it, because your fiduciary responsibility is to your client. And if
Yeah.
you're, you have to
It's
do.
not, it's not that I'm good or bad at it. I'm afraid that the learning curve is going to, when you're talking about like procrastination, that's a big obstacle in front of me. So that's one that I'm thinking, I don't think it would be a good idea for me to try to tackle that,
So
particularly
don't
the
at all.
editing. I don't know anything about it.
Just relinquish that one right from the beginning then.
Yeah.
Just that's an easy one to shed away. It really is, because the outcome is probably going to be fine, especially if you hire a professional photographer who does real estate photography, and they're probably throwing themselves at your market center anyway, saying, "Hey, here's my services, I'm available." So try one out and see how it goes, and if it's giving you the outcome that you need to get a property sold, then by all means use that leverage. I think it's a great one to use.
Whereas you putting in a sign, may not be fun, but I can do it. So
And I've never put in a sign. We just have a signpost guy. I don't have a pickup truck. I don't have the tool. I've never done the sign.
I do have my husband that can do that. So.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, I've leveraged some time by saying, okay, I purchased 10 signs and he keeps them all in inventory. So I don't even have to deal with like getting him to sign or dropping them off. He has them. That's good leverage, like whatever you can do for leverage is great. Let's see. You also have to decide what is a want and what is a need. I mean, you're helping your buyer clients with their wants and needs analysis, right, with the property. So you have to decide too, what do you really want to do? What do you need to do for what reason? Or what do you feel like you need to hold on to and shed away?
Right.
For somebody else. Okay. Now let's assume, I know these numbers might seem gargantuan and they're big for me too, but let's just assume, just for numbers sake, that in the 52 weeks a year, you work 40 weeks of the year, okay? Because you've taken some vacation time, sick time, wasting lots of time, whatever. And let's just say you have 40 productive weeks in a year. And let's just say in those 40 weeks, you are closing one property a week. So you have 40 closings in a year. Okay. So when we're kind of breaking down our day in the life of a real estate agent, let's just say it's more like over the course of a week in the life of a real estate agent. So if we go with 40 transactions, is that okay if we use that number? Okay. You guys follow the logic if I break it down to 40
Sure.
per week? Okay. For 40 weeks. Cool. All right. So now if it's one, let me just see, there's one more question in chat. Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's just say now in the course of a week, you have one property that you're going to put on the market and you have one closing, or that you have one buyer that you're showing property to and one closing. So it doesn't really matter too much if we say listing or a buyer. Either way, we're going to have something to do for preparation, getting under contract, and just say something to prepare for closing. Okay. Now, how is it that we're going to break down our day into like all of those moving parts? Okay. That checklist that I showed you with all the green lines, I'm always referring to that constantly. So that's super helpful. Because now I have at least I know all the players, I know the dates, I know the prices, I know, like, I'm having information that I'm constantly building into that over the course of a transaction. And it's not like I know it all at the beginning, because of course I'm not even going to know a closing location or closing time or closing date until closer to the closing. But those sheets of paper, those checklists, those are always with me. So that's always assisting my day in the life of an agent. Now, let's just say you're disciplined and you're committed to devote 2 hours worth of calls, no matter what comes up, 2 hours worth of calls. And the calls are making calls and following up with people. So that's part of your day right there. And I showed you the tracking sheet to track that you've been doing them, and that's showing you progress, right? You probably need another piece of paper to go along with that of who you made the call to. And we're going to get into command on how to enter the people and track them that way, and leverage more of your time using command. But now we said, okay, there's 2 hours of our day that we're making calls and we're doing lead follow-up. And let's just say our how many hours in a day should we be working? Like, what would you say normally doing?
20.
Should we go by like an 8-hour day? Is that
8-hour day? I'm also
Okay.
the family cook.
okay? All right, before we get on to the rest of our day, just like me and any normal day, I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to mute myself. And why don't we come back? I only need a minute, but why don't we take a 5-minute break? Okay. All right. I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. right, that was only a few minutes. Should I start or wait the other two? All right,
But
I'll wait one
we've
more
got
minute.
38 participants right now. So
38 participants. Okay,
that's what
great.
it says.
Okay, cool. I don't know if they walked away from their computer or not. Okay, so all right, we were on two hours worth of our 8-hour day for lead generation. Now we also have to build in time to, let's just say we have to research a property. Either let's first do it as if we have a listing that we're going to be preparing. Okay, so maybe we're going to spend another 2 hours a day in preparation and meeting with somebody for a property. Now let's just say we already have them we already have a listing agreement signed. So maybe another 2 hours of my day might be answering calls to do with like what they should do for staging kinds of things or preparing their house to go on the market. And there's calls back and forth. Maybe I stop over their house and I look at them and we kind of review things again. And maybe I start, when I go over there, I bring over a property disclosure and an input form of what would go on the multiple listing service. So I'm doing prep work for a property. Now let's just say I also have a buyer and the buyer wanted to go see a property. So, you're spending just say another 2 hours of time because you have to get there, you're showing them stuff, you're answering questions after, or if they're interested in the property, then you're doing some research on that. Okay, so now you've had that 6 hours of your day taken up. Now you need time to respond to phone calls, emails, et cetera. You could either hold that time to say like I will return all calls and all emails at a certain time of day, or you could just sprinkle those throughout the day. Now, I know that people who are super, super organized would have something on their phone message to say, I return all calls between such and such and such and such a time. I tend to just I always think of things, I just want to get stuff off my plate all the time, just get it off my plate. So I like to respond to messages ASAP. And if I'm even responding to say, I just got your, I just emailed somebody, just got your message, I'm teaching a class right now, I'll be back in touch early afternoon. Thanks for your patience. And I tend to just say thanks for your patience a lot. And so now I know that I've responded to them, so they have been responded to, and I'll do it at a time where I know that I can fit it in. Now, so it usually does take me about 2 hours a day to be responding to all kinds of emails and phone calls. So now that now created 2, 4, 6. That's now like 8 hours worth of my day. Now I just in my 2 hours of making phone calls or follow up too, while I'm doing that 2 hour chunk, I'm also in command and I'm adding more information about that person into command. Is anybody using command yet? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
4 people, and I don't know about all the people who I can't even see their faces. I see 2 more yeses from the chat. Okay. So
how to use it yet.
You don't know how to use it yet. So
Yeah.
So you do really need to leverage your time there, or leverage our time with talking to either your productivity coach or going to some kind of YouTube videos for how to use command, or like any of the tutorials within command. Because if you kind of live in command, now you're efficiently knowing if you're tagging people and you're knowing like what kind of people to talk to in a particular day, and you're chunking down your lead generation. So just say every day of the week, you have like a different category of people. So one of them is like expired, and another one is like all people that you were in some kind of club with, or you say, I'm going to talk to all Facebook people on one day, and you have their social media connected into command so that you can either use the social media to contact them or use command to go into their social media. So you have to write down a list for yourself so that each day you know which 1 or 2 or 3 groups of people that you're gonna connect with each day. And each day you're talking to them, try to get one more piece of information from them. So like, just say you're in command and you realize, okay, like I know their name and I know their phone number, but I don't have their address, or I don't have their birthday, or you don't know a hobby about them. You want to try to, when you're talking to them, just learn more information, glean information all the time from them. And you want to ask a question periodically, who do you know who's looking to buy or sell real estate? It's important to glean information because when you learn more about somebody, it's causing you to learn what other information that might be really periphery that you want to reach out to them about. And I'll give you an example. Let's just say that somebody, well, I mentioned water skiing before. So let's just say that somebody water skis, okay? And I have a place in command where I just write down hobbies, okay? So if I learn something like they're into water skiing, now I might have come across some like amazing new pond or lake, or somebody posted something on, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace saying that they're getting rid of water skis or something. Now it's like, oh, now there's a prompt for me to like go reach out to somebody in particular about something that interests them. Like I'm coming from contribution by mentioning something that they already like, and I'm being connected. So maybe on a particular day in my day of the life of a real estate agent, I'll say for today, I'm going to be contacting all my D2D2, do you know what that is? The 2-letter groups? Or I'll go over that too. Okay. Just say there's a particular group of people that I'm going to connect with, and I'm going to reach out and find something that's a way that I can come from contribution to reach out to them about. So it's something that that they know and like. So have you heard of Ford, Ford? Ford is, write this down. This is good. It's key. The F is friends and family. So when you're talking to somebody, you kind of want to know who their friends and family are. The O is occupation. So you want to know what they do, maybe where they work, or if they're not working, ideally, if they could work somewhere, what kind of work would they want to do? So maybe you can connect them to something. If they're a vendor, like an electrician or something, you really want to kind of know what it is. What are they, commercial or residential? If they say they're an attorney, well, what kind of attorney are they? Are they an intellectual property rights attorney, or do they do real estate law, or do they do family law? Like you want to delve into it. You want to understand what they do for an occupation, so you know how to refer people to. You're a connector. You want to refer people. And then for the R, FORD, R is recreation and dreams. And that's like, well, what do you do for hobby? What do you like to do? Like, what does your family like to do? What kind of sports are you into? Or if you're into baseball, well, which team? Like the more that you know about them, the more you have reason to go provide them with a interesting phone call of some sort, or send them something in the mail, or that you can relate to them in some way, because now you just know more about them. And then the D is the dreams. What do you, thank you, Matt, for posting that about Ford. So the D, the dreams, is like, if you ideally could go, I don't know, like if you ideally could sell your property and move somewhere, where would you move? Like, why is that important to you? Oh, you want to be like on the ocean because of whatever reason. I mean, the more you understand, the more you can connect with people. So if every time you make a phone call to somebody, you try to glean more information about FORD, friends and family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, then you are showing up with more value, more purpose, more people want to know how much you care before they care how much you know. So you're able to show how much you care to them when you actually know who they are as a person. So that's like a good one, a really good reason to lead generate. You could also set your goal to lead generate based on a particular topic. So let's just say like you had some past clients and you don't know if they ever applied for a homestead exemption and could save money on their taxes. Well, then you could put in a particular time frame to say you're going to look up on the town website like who's actually getting the homestead exemption. And if they're not, then you're going to call all the people in your database that aren't getting it and point out to them that they could apply for a homestead exemption and save money on their taxes. So that could be like a topic, a reason to make a call. Can anybody think of other like topics or reasons to reach out to people about?
I tag everybody in my database what kind of pet they have. So I'll see tags like has a dog, has a cat, because there's always animal events going on and people love to talk about their pets. So if there's an event at the dog park, everybody who has a dog is getting an email.
Yep. And if there's some new rule at the dog park or some closing or an opening of a dog park, then you can pull up a tag with everyone with pets and let them know about the new dog park or something. Yep. July 4th, week before, you could say, here's the list of all the fireworks in your location, happy 4th of July. It's just coming from contribution with something. So keep going to Bold, keep going to family reunion events because they're always posting like all kinds of cool ideas and you just sort of keep building it into your arsenal. So you need to create a plan around, if you have to lead generate for 2 hours a day, you have to have your plan about what it is that you're going to lead generate about. So it's either a topic you're going to do or it's a particular type of selling person that you're trying to do. Like you're going to call all for sale by owners that day or look for all expired listings, or you're going to call your database just to say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's it going? I also, every single day I pull up in command, it says who had a birthday within the last, I could say within the last 1 or 2 days or whatever. And I try most days to go into that and I wish somebody a happy birthday. So that might be 2 or 3 calls of that day. I could do it as a call. I could do it as a text. I could do it as a video text. I could set a note 2 days prior and send them a card in the mail. But it's a way to reach out to your whole database. If you don't know their birthday, then when you're calling people, ask them for the birthday and put it in command.
Actually, you were mentioning Bold, and I've been noticed this comes up every time when I'm on Facebook. What is this about? Can you explain?
What is Bold?
Yeah.
Bold is it comes to probably most parts of the country to our Keller Williams offices. And it's a learning course that's usually 7 weeks long. And it stands for Business Objective Life by Design, Not by Default. So we are creating a life by design, saying we want to work only certain number of days. We want a certain number of transactions in a year, or we want to work a certain type of property, or, we're creating a design, or me taking my Tuesday's day off. That's me creating a life by design. The default is just stuff happening to you all the time. But if you're designing your life, then you're creating a plan on what to do. And now you're working on you're creating a plan of what to do in the day of a life of a real estate agent. So if you are purposeful about what you do, then you're creating a roadmap for what you want your life to look like. And so Bold, when it comes to your market center, I encourage all of you to take it. I think I've taken it probably 8 times in person and 3 times over the last year online. And
they say they can send us leads. When I read on Facebook, it says they can send us leads. Is that right?
For it?
Yeah, because I'm a new agent, so I'm just see what class is gonna help me because I'm really brand new.
Every class will help you. Every class, just like forever, like stay learning based forever. There's like me even teaching this, I'm learning while I'm teaching. Like there are things as I was even preparing for this, I'm like, oh my gosh, it sounds so simple when I say it out loud. Like, why don't I just implement that on a regular basis? Like, I should do it too. Like, you know, so you're like always stay learning based, and bold is helps you with productivity. Accountability is a huge piece of it. It's learning scripts and it's learning ways to think. It's kind of like paying for a shrink for yourself personally and for business too.
Thank you.
And you're in teams, it's really great. It's very effective. And people will usually get more transactions. It'll grow their mindset and grow their skills. And it's a lot of sharing of ideas. So you can never take bold too much. I mean, I've taken it, as I said,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do too.
13 times already or something. 11 times, I don't know. So, but I'll just keep taking it because if I can learn one thing more, anything that I pay for or take the time to do, if I can learn one thing from it, then I'm that much better of an agent, or maybe I can get one more transaction or save one more transaction from falling apart or something like that. So everything has value to it as long as you apply at least like one thing. So far, what is the one thing you're going to apply that you might have heard today?
Try to learn more about others, like my friends. So when it comes, for example, the birthdays, that is on Facebook, but other that they like to do. So when I know some event, I can send them. But the thing is, I'm not the best on the computer, so I'm trying to learn computer skills.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you'll learn. I knew nothing about computers. It used to make me cry.
Yeah, gets me nervous actually.
Yeah, but you'll get there. I mean, they explain everything. You know, computers these days, they dumb everything down to like the exact how to, so that it's not crazy to learn. There's a lot to learn, but it's all able to be learned. Okay, so let's just say, all right, we're still doing the lead generation and lead generation follow-up. Okay, so how can we efficiently even keep track of the people that we're talking to? You could either be in command at the same time that you're talking to everybody and write down notes. You could fill out a task that says when the next time to talk to them is and what you're talking to them about is, or what you're researching. So you could completely use command if you wanted to. If you don't want to use command, or you're not there yet, or you like to write things down on paper, then you could and just like a notebook, like a regular notebook, you could just write down the name. You can use highlighters while you're writing down somebody's name. I did this for a long time. I used 2-color highlighters. I used green and orange. The green was some task that they're expecting me to do for them. So like I said that I would send out a business card or a piece of information, or set them up on a what do you call it? Like an MLS listing search or something. So if it's something I said I would do that I have to go do, that was like being in touch with them, that was green. If it was and I would highlight orange if it was something that I needed to do, actually sending them a card in the mail, that would be orange. So if they weren't expecting it, but I knew I was going to send them a card and it was me following up, the orange to me was follow-up stuff, but green was something that they were actually expecting, that I knew I had to do because I had to follow through. So you can do like, just create a system. It doesn't have to be pretty, but if you do have everything on paper, it will be helpful to you to eventually like copy that over into command. So part of your day in the life of a real estate agent might be that you have a half an hour a day that you build into your schedule at the end of the day, that whatever notes you had, you've now transported those either into command or into something that is moving your business forward in some way or making it more efficient. I think that if you can get rid of like the extra little notes and extra tasks that will end up getting lost, then your follow-up will be better. So if you block out the time and say that, like, even if you feel like you can't do it because you're not good at it, because you're facing backwards on that motorboat and then the wake is really choppy and you said you were bad at it before, just face forward in the boat again and just say, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be good at this task for the next 10 minutes, and do something to make that system better for the 10 minutes, or make one more call in that 10 minutes. But when you make that call, glean more information and find some way to make that so that you can come from contribution. Okay. All right, now let's just say we're on the 2-hour time where we are going out and let's just say we're outside, we're driving around outside, and just say we've shown a property and we're in a particular town. And while you're in that town, you're like, okay, I'm already here in Portland. And while I'm in Portland, I know that I have to check the public records from a property that I'm going to be putting on the market, or I have to, or somebody closed on a property, and it would be great if I swung by their house and left them a handwritten note to, like, stop by, like called a popping by their house. So I have a spreadsheet that I've created every time somebody has closed, to say, like, who they are, where they live, the name of the town, and or if I sold the property, who the buyer is that now lives in the house that I had sold. And so if I reorder that spreadsheet by towns, now I know while I'm in a particular extraneous town that I hardly go to, I can, like, I'll know whose house to stop by. And if they're not home, doesn't matter. I have a stack of handwritten, like, note cards or blank note cards in my car, and I just pull one out and I said, hi, I happen to be right near your street, thought I would just drop off a note. Hello, hope you're doing well. And I keep a bunch of business cards in my car, and I just pop it into the note card and put it in their door, like, and then leave. And it's like, okay, good. While I had to go spend the gas to drive us to a certain town, I got maybe 2 or 3 other pieces of business done at the same time. And then I'll have to make sure that I checked off in my pop by list that I popped by their house, because in the course of the year, I want to be able to do all my pop buys for all of my past clients once a year. So I do need to spend time every day with all of this extraneous follow-up stuff to stay organized. So I would build into your time a little bit at the beginning of every day with the mindset, and a little bit at the end of the day with follow-up. And then also in the day of a life of a real estate agent, it's great. It's really, really, really great. I highly recommend if you can journal. I keep a journal, like, next to my bed, and the bold journal, it just has 2 columns, like one half of the page for every, page opened. One half says what I did well, and the other half says what I learned. So when I did something well, like, wow, I actually did a pop by, like, and I put it on my list. Well, I'm, like, really proud that I actually followed through with a system that I created. So I'll like acknowledge that, like, oh, I actually did the thing. Like, I'll be really, really proud of myself when I do something like that. And then what I learned, I might say something like, oh, well, I could have done X better by such and such a thing, or I had a new idea of what I could do. And so when you get it out of your head and you put it on paper, somehow you're constantly, like, tweaking and elevating and, doing something where it's like building your business, or, like, rewarding yourself for feeling proud of, like, anything you're doing, anything you're learning at all. And the learning never stops. In the same journal, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I pull out the journal, I write the date, and I just say, I am grateful for, and then I just blurt down a few things. I mean, half the time it's like the same things over and over, like that I have blankets to keep me warm, or that somebody was like nice to me yesterday, or that like, I got to talk to my brother or whatever it is, but writing down your gratitudes for some reason shifts your perspective and somehow makes it that, I don't know, it like makes you less judgmental and more easy to relate to your clients for some reason, just being in gratitude. I don't know why, but somehow in the universe that helps. So I add that, I make sure that's part of my day. Like I try to most days have that as part of my day. I also have a checklist where it's like a blank Excel sheet, and I have like everything that I want to do in the day that are just sort of general categories. So it might say like the lead generation and the lead generation follow-up in like the certain time block in the morning. And then the afternoon are all the things like showings, public records checks, going on home inspections, closings, that kind of thing. And then like there's another time of day where I have another category. At the end of my whole entire day, I like to grade myself. If I have done one of the 5 things I'm supposed to do as a real estate agent, then I'll give myself a 1 out of 5. If I've done 2 out of the 5, then I'll give myself a grade of a 2. And not all the time I have opportunity to do all those things, but what are the 5 things we're supposed to do as an agent? Someone unmute.
Calls,
Generate. Lead.
I heard lead generate, then what?
Yes.
calls.
Lead generate calls, write notes.
So that's all part
Follow
of
up.
lead generation. That's all part of the lead generation.
Mhm.
Right, so follow up,
Follow-up is
buyer listing, buyer listing, buyer and listing appointments.
Yep, go on appointment.
Negotiate contracts, and I don't think you gave us the 5th, or maybe I missed it.
The 5th one is like script and role play.
Okay, that's right.
Right.
Thanks.
And you could say learn also, but you could say learn also. But so yeah, those are the 5 things. So there's not always opportunity in a particular day to do all of those things, but I still like to grade myself. And then the other thing I like to grade myself is on my happiness level. I seriously like to give myself a grade because, and again, it would be 1 out of 5. And for me, the definition for my happiness level that I put on my schedule there is if I'm actually like following my schedule, like I'm feeling so proud of myself if I follow my schedule that it just makes my happiness level like all the way at the top. And if I'm not, and I'm spending my whole day just doing busy work, and it's like, oh yeah, I worked, but I was busy or whatever, but not doing the 5 things that a real estate agent should do, then I kind of like, I get a little down on myself and I'll give myself a lower happiness score. So it's just a little game I play with myself, but looking at that schedule is part of the key thing. So building out your schedule, we just took it to like the general sense. Now we have to break it down into like seriously more breaking it down into like how we can do these measurable things. So I'm going to do another screen share. And let me takes me a little while just to minimize this. Go to, where am I? I'm almost there. Bear with me. I'm still looking for it. Okay, I found it. Okay, so now let me go back to this part and then do share screen. All right, I think I've just shared it. All right, am I on a screen share now?
Yes.
Okay, so was that the one I wanted? No. There was another page that I wanted. Let's see if I minimize this one more time. I have to get, I wanted this other thing, not that one. I'm looking. It's part of this, but where did I put it? It is, am I still on a screen share? All right, wait a second. Bear with me. I will find it. It is over. It's in our materials, so I'm just trying to pull it up. It's not that one. Let's see, where did I put it? It's called a smart goal. Oh, here it is. Okay, I found it. Okay, this page right here. All right, when you're setting your weekly and daily objectives, you could actually print one of these things out and have something every day of the week. So the example that they're showing right here, add 10 contacts to command. They're literally going through all these 5 steps up here. What is the goal? Well, the goal is adding contacts into command. But how will you measure your progress, or really, like, how many is it? They've defined it, 10, adding 10 contacts to command. Well, the system or tool to make that happen, command is the system for it. And then, is the goal in alignment with the 411? We'll explain what the 411 is. And when is the goal needed to be accomplished? It's on Monday. So they're making it very, very specific exactly what to do. So anything that you do, you want to, like, have it identifiable and metric driven and attainable and purposeful and timely. So if it were like Tuesday to lead generate, well, then lead generation is too broad, but it might say Tuesday, lead generate for sale by owners that are showing up on a for sale by owner website, and once you contact them, send them a packet. So now you've made it into a much smarter goal than something really basic. Let's just say Wednesday, you're going to send all 20 people in your neighborhood a letter or a handwritten note stating that there is an open house that's going to come, that's going to be on Sunday, and you'd love it for them to show up. And so now you've stated the day, how many you're sending out, what it's for, and you're going to know that you've measured your progress when all 20 of them are actually, all 20 envelopes that you set out are filled out. So try to have as many of your goals as SMART goals as possible, but you could literally on Monday identify the 3 types of categories of people based on demographic of people, or a topic that you're going to reach out to, or some other thing, like the 3 different lead generation categories, maybe 2 for lead generation, and the third one is the lead generation follow-up. So you've actually stated your goal for the day, and you can build it out for the entire week. And so that could be just like a giant lead generation kind of thing. Now, to add it to a 411, let me show you what the 411 is. That is one of the tools they have here, and it is in the workbook. Oh, maybe it's right here. Yep, here it is. Okay, so I'm still sharing the screen. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you work with the 411, or do you know what it is? Or is this totally new? Is it new for you guys?
For me, it's new.
Okay, we're going to go over it then. Okay, a 411 is a roadmap for you to get to your goal. So if your annual goal is just say to close, let's just say 15 transactions in the course of 1 year. So you might say under here, under year, close 15 transactions in through July of 2022. And you might say 60% are sellers and 40% are buyers. So that might be your annual goal. Well, your monthly goal might be to contact four sellers a week and book 3 listing appointments per week that's going to support you for that annual goal. And the monthly goal would be that particular month, what you need to do to get you toward the track of your annual goal. And now that you know your monthly goal, well, then what do you need to do this particular week to support that monthly goal? So if you have to book 3 appointments, then what kinds of people do you need to call, contact, door knock, follow up with in order to get to those 3 appointments that month so that you can close the 15 transactions in the year? And so that week it might say, well, I need to learn how to enter people into command, and I need to contact these people, and then I don't know, whatever the things are that are going to support that goal, you're going to break them down into like little tiny increments. Or you're going to preview 3 properties, because one of you said that previewing is going to help you learn a little bit more about what the values of properties are. And if they're doing more broker open houses in your area, definitely show up at broker open houses too. Because now you can ask questions of other agents and hear comments of other agents for what they think about value, what they think about the staging, how that property compares to another property. So that's also a way of previewing houses and learning at the same time. And it's great as a new agent when they ask everyone's opinion and you can be like, I have no idea, I'm new. I just am here to listen and learn. That's okay too. So, you know, if part of your 411 is to show up go to preview 3 houses that week, so that now you have it's what you need to do in order to achieve your goal. So the 411 is not a want to list, it's a need to do list in order for you to get up to the next step. So anything that you then put onto your 411, you also need to add into your schedule. So it's not just on the 411 sheet, you're going to actually translate that into, okay, from 9 until 10 on Tuesday, I'm going to do X. Somebody just asked, Jackie just asked what a broker open house is. So I'll explain that. During COVID, we didn't have those, but I'm starting to see them again. So what a broker open house is just say there were 10 properties that are in a particular town, or 10 properties in a particular price range that are within a few towns of each other. And they're all in the market and they're not getting sold yet. So brokers will sometimes announce a broker open house to other brokers, and they'll have gotten 4 or 5 or 10 different agents to all agree to, on a particular day, meet at one of those properties at just say 8:30 in the morning, and all the agents meet there, and then they caravan to the next property that's on the list, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, until they've hit all the properties that are part of that broker open house. And it's brokers going from one house to the next, and usually there's like a little questionnaire they filled out, and it's like, what do you think of the price? What do you think of the staging? What is one detractor you think that's not getting this house sold? What is one compliment I could possibly give to my seller? And it's exposing agents to these houses, and also hearing from your colleagues ways to potentially problem solve, because sometimes your client doesn't want to listen to the advice from you. But if they actually get a feedback form from like 6 other agents all agreeing to the same thing, it's like, well, everyone thinks that really what you're using as your first floor bedroom should be utilized as an office, because offices in homes right now are what people want. Well, maybe they'll listen to everyone's advice rather than just my advice. So, you know, a broker open house is great for getting feedback, and it's also a great way for you to learn, because you're hearing the comments of your colleagues. If you also have a listing that isn't getting sold when you think it should, then you could reach out to other agents in the area and say, would you like to participate in a broker open house with me? We'll set it up. You know, yours is like next closest to mine, and so we'll put you on the list, and I'll make sure that I send out a notification to everybody in the board of realtors or something, so that everyone's notified of a broker open house on Thursday starting at 8:30. And if are you all Keller Williams agents? Just nod if you are. Okay, so if you did a broker, think of this, expand your mind. So if you did a broker open house with agents they're all from different agencies, now you have an opportunity to meet other agents. Maybe you can now create a relationship and start bringing them in for profit share and add them to your profit share tree.
Heidi, when they do those broker open houses, are the owners at the property or not, just like a regular open house?
They're not.
Okay.
And when we've been in this extreme seller advantaged market where properties get under contract like nationally on an average of 5 or 6 days, we haven't had the need to do a broker open house because the properties are just going like hotcakes, right? But when the market does shift a little bit, and just say a seller is kind of like overshot the price a little bit and it's sitting on the market, or there's something kind of odd about the house that's just not getting sold under contract too quickly, then maybe a broker open house is a good thing to have.
Thank you.
Jessica?
So in my old town, in my old brokerage, they used to make an event out of everything, and they would have like lunches and lunch and learns, or they'd have a raffle, or every realtor who comes with like a potential buyer will get a scratch ticket. They made like a whole do about it. It was actually really fun, and they did it on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah. So when it is a different market, and very frequently the agents will pair up with like a lender or a title company or somebody that will provide the lunch, and then the respect thing to do is that everybody will actually hang out at the last property and eat lunch, so that they can allow the sponsor, you know, the one that's paid for the food, to actually, you know, maybe talk a little bit. But it is a really good way to meet your colleagues, and it is important. I think I have found it's important to know who your colleagues are, because when you're in the business, like, and you're just say bringing a buyer offer to a listing, if the other agent knows you or likes you, they sometimes will want to convince their client to work with your client's offer, because they know it's going to be a very good co-broke experience. So it is beneficial for you to be meeting with other agents and build that, build that network and build your credibility. So, you know, part of your day in the life of a real estate agent too could mean that you potentially have to work a little bit in an evening, because you have to go to networking events, which is part of your lead generation or your lead generation follow-up, to either create an event or go to an event. So, you know, and the event doesn't always have to be going to, it could be like something that you've been doing on Zoom for the last year because you've found a new hobby, but maybe you never had opportunity to really let people know that you're actually a real estate agent. Well, maybe then you find a way to be more purposeful to enhance your networking and build that into either your schedule, not necessarily on a daily basis, but potentially once a week, to do some kind of networking opportunity, because it does suffice for your lead generation. It absolutely suffices for it. And you're definitely going to build relationships. It's another way to glean information about that FORD, the Friends, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams, because now you have some commonality, and people usually with something in common with you are more likely to give you leads because they feel a connectivity with you. So your day in the life of a real estate agent sometimes is not 8 hours straight. If you know that you're going to have to do something that's going to take 2 hours in the evening, then maybe 2 hours in a particular day you take that opportunity to do something that's just for you, like your own personal business, your own errands or whatever. Because some people are really good at getting everything accomplished in a particular day, just 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and other people aren't. And it's your own choice what your lifestyle is with that. I personally never fight working weekends. My ex-husband, for years, we're still friends, but my ex, he was a club manager, and so he always worked weekends. So like weekends were just not a thing for me because he was always working. So I take my Tuesdays off. It's my Creativity Tuesday day off. I tell my clients I don't like to work on Friday and Saturday nights because I like to feel like a real person, and I don't want to work on Sunday mornings. But all the other times I'm working. And if I'm negotiating an offer, I'll do whatever it takes, even if it's my day off, if I'm negotiating. But aside from that, like I just give them some boundaries. And I don't mind if I have a listing appointment that's in the evening when, just say, the husband and wife are both home, because like if they feel like they both need to be there and can't take time off from work, and I feel like, okay, if I'm showing up for 2 hours and I'm going to get paid, a lot of money on the other end of it, then I don't mind if I have to work the evening, but somebody else might mind. You're going to create your own boundary. So in my mind, I usually think that I'm probably going to go on 2 appointments that are evening-ish in a week. That's just me. One of them might be that I'm showing a buyer property. And one of them is I might be on a listing appointment. So to me, I'm already in my mind, already okay with that as part of my schedule. Another thing I just always take around with me is I always have a notebook. Everywhere I go, I have the notebook, and then I have all those checklist sheets that I showed you in a binder. So the checklist sheets I take with me because at any random time of day, I'll get more information about something to do with one of those transactions or need to answer a question. And I don't want to have to take the time to go back to my computer. If I have those checklists, I can either put down more information or take information off to share. So I find that that's an efficient method for me. Okay. I want to go over the accountability part. Let me answer more of the questions here. Okay, so did I answer enough questions about the broker open house? I think I did. That was a question from before. Okay, great. All right. And so let me go back to on the screen share, the accountability part, which is in our packet. But again, it just takes me a little while to go find it before I share the screen. So bear with me again. Okay, I found it. So now, okay, screen share this. Okay, so here's the, within our packet, it's about being accountable. And accountability is either being accountable to ourselves, accountable to our clients, meaning we're going to do what we said we were going to do, or it's being accountable to our goals or our finances or our family or whatever it is. And accountability is I think that it's a hard thing for a lot of people. It's doable, but it's hard because like you could say that you're going to do something and you could have great intentions, you can be motivated, but then are you actually disciplined? So, and it all just kind of feeds back into itself all the time. So setting the goals is what we're saying, that every day, like this is what we're going to accomplish this day. And we've made it into a very time-based goal, what we're doing, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, how much we're doing it. We're setting the goal. It's on our 411. We've added it to the time slot in our calendar. And now we're gonna, if we're not procrastinating, we're gonna actually do that activity that we said we're gonna do. Even if we have to break it down into like 5 little chunks to say, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I can do this. I can make one more call or whatever it is. So we're gonna do the activities. Now measuring the results. So measuring the results could be like, that checklist that I showed you that had like all those numbers on it that said how many handwritten notes and how many calls and all this. I mean, that was like over the course of a week, and you're just adding another one to it. That's showing you how many cards you sent, how many direct messages, how many appointments you set, how many people picked up the phone, or how many doors you knocked on. That's giving you actual measurable results if you actually remember to use that checklist. Because when you have the measurable results, then you start over time realizing, okay, if it shows that all I've done is 10 phone calls today, but I realized I wasted 3 hours, then I have the ability to make probably 3 additional calls to ramp that up the next day. And you can see that maybe it takes you 10 calls before you get an appointment. So measuring those results is a super helpful tool. And you just have to use a checklist of some sort to track that. So then evaluating the process, that would be, does anybody have any thoughts around what evaluating the process could mean? Okay, so evaluating, go ahead.
I was just saying, maybe find ways to be more efficient, more effective.
Yes. Yes. So that could be something like, I talked to somebody, yet what came out of my mouth was just like very lacking or unhelpful or whatever. And it might be that, like, okay, I made the effort to make the call, but I realized that I do need to spend time practicing role play so that I understand when I talk to somebody about a certain problem, I have the tools of, like, what comes out of my mouth is a way that's going to either convert them into a client or help them with their question, or move them forward with a thought, or debunk a myth that they might have thought to be true. So taking the time to really delve into that and evaluate, what did I do? What did I do well? What have I learned? What could I do better? What can I tweak? What are the tools or resources I can go to learn how to do that? It's the necessary part, just like any business, to say, this is where we're at and this is where we want to go, and how do we change what we're doing to get toward our goals. So evaluating the process and then in making those adjustments, so that then we can either be more likely to hit our goals or set bigger goals, or set the goals to achieve in a shorter time period. Do you have any questions about that? Because that's like a big thing. Anybody have comments or anything they want to talk about with that?
Do you do the accountability on a weekly basis, a daily basis, a monthly basis?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so I tackle it in a few ways. One of them is that I have 2 different script partners. I really should have 3, I think, but I have 2 script partners, and they're on 2 different days of the week, and we're supposed to call each other. So we usually do on that particular day of the time. I like to do that before my day starts, so that I never miss the call. So I don't get stuck on another call and miss it. So I like to do them at 7 or 7:30 in the morning for half an hour. So what I often do is we'll either practice a script or we'll practice a scenario, and say, like, if it's a scenario, it's saying, okay, like, I'm going to be meeting with somebody again this afternoon, and last time they were super resistant about such and such, and I didn't feel like I could, like, move them forward. I didn't know what to say to them. And so let's pretend that I'm the agent and you're the client, and here's the problem. And then we just start scripting and role playing that thing. So that is me, like, on a regular basis, like doing the script and role playing. Then on Saturday mornings, every week, I meet with a coach. And my coach, she helps me with productivity. Sometimes it's just very cerebral sorts of thinking and like mindset or big visionary things, or sometimes it's I've gotten in my head about something that's like I can't quite unwind, or a roadblock, or a technical a technical thing I just don't know how to do with command or whatever it is. So like my coach helps me on a weekly basis. So that's always trying to move me forward. And then what I don't do, but I intend to do all the time is at the end of every week is be accountable to my finances and log in all my receipts, and on a personal sense and also on the business sense. So if I've ordered a sign or paid for photography, or the contract to close team is helping me with something, or I've done a marketing ad through the command system, then I'm logging like how much my expenses are and all of those things, so that I eventually know, like when I'm earning money for a transaction, what my expenses are and really what I've actually earned. So like what my gross is and what my net is. So if I hold myself accountable to a time frame because I put it into my calendar and I'm actually looking at it, and I'm obeying my calendar because it's my roadmap of what I do in a week's time, then I'll be on track with all of those things. And it will reveal to itself, it will reveal to myself what I need to tweak, what I need to get better at, what I can do more effectively, or what I'm overspending on something that's not necessary, or you know, so I'm going through that. There's, that self accountability piece. I actually went out to dinner with a friend of mine yesterday. He's like way, way, way older than me. And so he's been in this world a lot longer. And so I think of him as my business mentor, and I pick his brain about things. And I have some finance questions that he agreed to meet with me on Sunday so we can go over, because, I'm having a roadblock with certain things, and he'll be a good resource. So that's me being accountable to my money. So I think that the accountability piece, it's like, I actually met with another coach recently. Somebody gifted me their coaching appointment. Anthony, great sunglasses. So I met with another coach, and my whole topic that I wanted to talk to in my free half an hour session was all about my resistance to me being accountable to myself, and why am I so resistant to that when it's only going to help me, And so I had some more ahas once I had that coaching appointment, and then I set up with my other coach like ways for me to be more accountable and add things into a 411. Once they're in my 411, add them into my calendar and make them actual time-based goals. So all of this stuff just kind of keeps circling around itself to itself. Do you have more questions about accountability, or have you found ways that in other areas of your life where either somebody that you cohabitate with, has caused you to be accountable to them, or vice versa? Because usually what happens in your own life happens in real life, like it happens in business life too. Like the theme
Well, regarding work anyways, I'm on a coaching program. So we have a meeting with a few of us newer reps on Monday. We check in how many calls we've made, how many contacts, what else we're doing, how we're budgeting our time. And he keeps, pushing us in the right direction instead of getting distracted.
Yeah. And when you check in with like numbers and stuff, do you just check in with the numbers of calls you've made, or do you look at what that story is telling you? Like how those numbers of what you have done are actually supporting your goals?
Yeah, well, there's an electronic program that you have to enter these numbers in, and it, gives you a close rate, depending on how many calls you've made and stuff. So he can kind of say, okay, that doesn't seem to be working. Maybe do more of this.
Mm-hmm.
And see if that'll help.
Yep. What are you guys finding at the moment, at this very moment, because it's 11 o'clock and we have till I think 12:15. What do you, because I can use this time in any way that you want. What will you find of most use to you that we can go over? because I'm here for you.
I mean, me personally, I would love to hear anything you have on negotiating between buyer and seller, anything you have on like listing checklists, because that to me is the two big thing is getting the listing, kind of the timeline of getting them hot and on the market, ready to go. And then, you know, how you work with certain little things, you know, in your mind that you're like, oh, I remember this one time I had to negotiate this and it was like super random and just like little stuff that'll help me like,
Okay.
oh, I know what to do. You know, they came
Okay.
in
So from the
razor
things,
short.
from the things that you just identified, to stay within the confines of a day in the life of the real estate agent, I can go over like what things for listings that you would need to do in the course of a week that you might not have thought of. And that way we'll still stay in the same, in the framework of this. So I'm going to write that down, and then like listing checklist stuff. And then others of you, please throw out your thoughts of what else you would like to go over that would be helpful to you.
Staying on track with that day in the life of an agent. I've heard in other classes, or it might have been like meetings through Keller Williams, don't be like that agent that just strictly educates himself nonstop. So what would your balance be between, you know, once night's over and we're not doing this schedule for the month, what was your balance be between taking classes, you know, what time of day versus the job? You know, where's that lay?
Okay, so that's an excellent question. So we're all with Keller Williams, and Keller Williams Realty is a learning based group of people. And kind of the inside joke is that we're a learning company disguised as a real estate company. So as a company, we value learning intensely, and we value coaching, which is learning, right? So the learning can't take second position. And also there are conventions that like should be positioned on your calendar, where if there's a convention coming up that's just say in August, then you place it on your calendar almost before everything else, because, and your personal vacations too, because it's that important to schedule. Although I actually just turned down going to mega camp because I feel like I haven't implemented enough things that from the last convention. So I'm kind of committing to like implement before I go to the next convention. But so the learning based stuff is paramount. When they say the 5 jobs of a real estate agent include the script and role play. Noah, do you have a script and role play partner?
I do have people that I talk to regularly. We haven't done a lot of script practice yet, but
okay, so I would encourage you to do that, because now you'll be learning and you'll be moving forward, and it's something that you can implement right away. So if like your conversion rate of talking to clients is really low because on your checklist, you know, you've checked off that you've talked to 20 people, but you've only gotten 1 appointment. Well, if there's a way based on what you're saying, your scripts, you know, and role playing, if there's a way that you can then maybe out of only 15 calls get an appointment, or once you get the appointment, actually sign them on as a client. It kind of all comes down to the script and role play part. So I would encourage you to either add another script and role play partner, or be more devoted to actually doing the scripts when you're having the discussions with those other agents. So you're getting more bang for your buck on that.
all right.
Does that help to answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of other just learning based things is like, I try to have a goal in mind. Like just say I'm paying for a MAPS group coaching session on something. Like I've taken language of sales twice. And I find that like that one course, for some reason, maybe because I really like the art of communication. So personally, it kind of resonates with me. But I have found that even though the course, I don't know what it cost, it might've been like $295 or $395. It was like, I knew going into it, okay, there's money I'm spending on it. Yet if I can get one transaction saved, or one new client converted into an actual client that closes because of what I learned in that course, then it was worthwhile for me to take the course. And so now if I take it again and I can implement something else I've learned, and again, I can get paid from doing that. So you have to like hold your learning and your expense for your learning and your time for your learning. You have to hold that accountable by actually committing to implement something that you have learned. So learning is like really, really important. Then in terms of time for it though, like Lourdes, you're just starting off, right? So did I pronounce your name right?
Yes.
Okay.
My action, I have the question. As a brand new agent, I just have been going to classes and tried to see if they, when I go to the office, if I have somebody that can help me with something, but I actually don't have any coach. My mentor sometimes is busy, so I'm a little scared that I'm been spending, but not getting what I need to get to. So I don't know, what should I do?
Do they have productivity coaching in your market center?
They have a Super Saturday a couple of weeks ago, and I went and I tried to see wherever they have classes or when if I have videos I can go to, but still I feel it's not enough for me.
Okay, so I would go to your team leader and actually have that conversation with them, because they're there for you, and they'll either there's something that you're not knowing that is available to you, or something they haven't implemented that needs to happen really quickly in your market center. So I would definitely encourage you to talk to them about what you feel is lacking, because that you need more. And I feel like as a new agent, I mean, sometimes it does take being in the classroom for like 3 months straight until for some reason some light bulb clicks and you're just like, oh my gosh, I have the confidence and the tools right now. I feel like I can actually get up and leave and go out and knock on doors. And so, you know, if you know nothing to start with, then it has to be a little bit more learning based. But at the same time, that whole ready, aim, fire, I think people have different personalities, and some are just in that ready, aim, 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 ready, aim, aim, and they just never fire. And if that's your personality, period, then it's going to be harder for you to do better in this business, because it's like, you know, it's sometimes like me, I said I'm like kind of controlling with things. I want everything really perfect. Well, over time, I realized, well, the outcome doesn't have to be perfect, because they're not noticing that lack of perfection like I want it to be perfect, but they're not even going to notice it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So I've slowly gotten myself to fire faster and stay less in that ready, aim, ready, aim. And sometimes you just have to trust that the only way you're going to learn is to fire too. And that's why there are colleges around the country that exist where sometimes they're like, okay, there's some academia and some out in the field, and they keep blending the two, because you need to be out there making mistakes in order to learn, or having some successes to keep building on. So, you know, you have to trust at some point that unless you're going to do something where you might fall on your face, but without doing it, you won't know. But if you don't try in the beginning, you're definitely not going to have an outcome. So, but over time, the learning, you'll be out of the classroom a little bit more, and you know, doing more.
I actually tried yesterday, my husband to be my first client, just to try. So I went to show a house, but the house, it seems too pricey for the amount of money he needs to spend, because my husband is a flipper. So I don't think he's going to buy it. And I was feeling like, I don't know if I should ask questions to the other agent, because I was feeling shy. So I let my husband ask the question he needed to do, because he knows what he needs to ask.
Okay.
So, but it was a good experience for me.
That's great. Keep it up. And Trevor, I'm going to get back to some of your answers now, and then I still want to ask other people too, what will they find most helpful while we're kind of moving in through this last hour. So to get back to some of the listing checklist things, was that your question, or someone's who had that question about wanting to know more listing checklist items? I don't know if he left. Well, then I'll not answer that one yet. Okay. Who else has specific things they want me to go over that will help them with the day in the life of an agent? Michael, I haven't heard from you. Mike Foley.
I guess I would like to know what tools you have found more useful when you first started out, or I guess even more on your current day-to-day. Look, having my initial, just, you know, being fresh into this, look, like 3 weeks now. There's a lot of like gizmos and gadgets that, you know, you get emailed for advertising and marketing. So I guess, yeah, what tools you have found to be most useful versus just not useful at all, and they're just kind of there to be shiny.
Right. So I would say Command is an awesome tool that is shiny and entirely useful. So to definitely learn Command in those little incremental chunks, when they say like, here's some tutorials to build on. Even if you're only entering 5 people in to start, keep using Command because it will leverage your time. If there are companies that call you that want to like, I don't know, give you leads or whatever else, I would say don't buy into any of that, because you want to play red light, green light with your money, and trust that if you're diligently spending time in script and role play practice, because it's one of your 5 jobs as an agent, I keep saying that, if you're doing that, then you will know what to have come out of your mouth when you're talking to a for sale by owner or an expired listing or a resistant buyer who just wants everything perfect before they make a decision, or a seller. I mean, there's scripts for like so many different types of things. So trust yourself as you're the prize. You really are. So if you like really, really work on those scripts and you devote time to go make calls, talk to people anywhere, you know, in hobby groups that you're in the supermarket, in your neighborhood, to, you know, the person cutting your hair, mowing your lawn, whatever, just keep talking to people, even though it's going to come out like super awkward at the beginning. It doesn't matter. And just trust yourself that you as an individual human being are interesting enough and have been, you know, on this earth long enough that you have some value of in some way to somebody else, even if it's kindness, or that you listen well, or that you have a sense of humor, or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, like if it's a smile, I swear to God, people have told me my smile is one of my greatest assets. And here I wasn't smiling, but when I smile, I put people at ease, and people have told me seriously that my smile is like an asset of mine. And I'm like, how cool is that? Like, I can carry that around with me everywhere. I don't even have the Easy Pass to go in the highway yet. I swear I am not going to get Easy Pass until I get a lead from a toll booth operator. So when I go through a toll booth, I say to them, I'm like, here's a business card of mine. I'm a real estate agent, and I someday will get Easy Pass, but not until the toll booth operator gives me a real estate lead, because I would love to help somebody. And besides, I love saying hello at a toll booth. And they're just like, how cool is that? One woman even called me after like 15 minutes after I went through toll booth. She's like, I know this is really weird, but I'm calling you. I don't have a lead for you, but I do have a question. I said I was so like distracted, like, and I forgot, did I actually give you back your change? And I'm like, she actually called me, like she has my card now, and she'll remember, like she has my card. And so, you know, it's just, I mean, that's like a random category of people, but I have in my head too, that it's like, I want a 2 or 3 times return on every category of people in my life. So it was like, my kids are now in their 20s. So it was like somebody from their elementary school, someone from their middle school, someone from their high school, somebody from a dance group I was in, somebody from my neighborhood, somebody from like every walk of my life. Somehow I want a piece of business from every single walk of my life. And so I kind of like think that, and so I know that it will happen, and it has been happening because I'm willing it to happen. So I think that you're your own most valuable tool, and not to seek other periphery shiny things, especially if they're going to sidetrack you away from time and they're going to cost money and you're not playing red light, green light. Because Command is free, and so is script and role playing. And yes, productivity coaching has a price, but your benefit for what you're paying is like so worth it. So you have to trust in yourself, and you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me.
I have a question. Do you have in a comment videos for us to see how we do scripts?
So in your book, like you guys all have some kind of a packet, a download or something, that there are some yeah, the Spark. Thank you, David. The
I don't
Spark
have it.
does have scripts, and we can read a couple scripts together if you want, so you can kind of hear the tonation of it. We can do that. Would you guys like that? Would other people like to do that? You can do a couple
Good
of
idea.
Okay, we'll do that. And then what other things are really important to people? Because we still have like almost an hour left. And who was it that did ask about listing checklist things? Somebody wanted to know something like that, but if they're gone, then
Well, you can still do it.
okay.
We'll all learn something.
So I still haven't built out one completely, a listing checklist. However, if you guys end up in, some of you have done opportunities already in Command. In the opportunities, there is a task list that you can create a task. So like just say, or you can write it on paper. So if you write something on paper, every single thing that you have done, you want to write down, because chances are you're going to need to do those things again. Okay. So without me having it like written that I'm reading off of, it would be like, if you have a potential seller, you want to set the appointment, you want to go on the appointment, you want to have them sign the listing paperwork, you want to either that night or come back and fill out a property disclosure with them. I like to do it with them rather than hand it to them to do, because I'm responsible for the information too. I want to order a sign, order the photography, take the time to help them stage. I now have somebody that's helping me with marketing. That's more recent leverage, but I told her what things I want what the message is and where I want it marketed. So let's just say you're going to be marketing on Facebook business page, your Facebook personal page, Instagram, LinkedIn, KW Connect. You're going to send an email out to all of your board of realtors so they all know like what's now on the market. You're going to, if you subscribe to a dialer, you can contact neighbors, or you can just knock on their doors, because that's free and maybe more effective anyways, and let them know that there's this new listing. You're going to be putting it into the multiple listing service. You're going to gather information on what's like amazing about living in that particular location, like what the features and benefits are of living in that neighborhood or in that part of town or whatever. So you can use that in your marketing. You're going to, so that's all like pre-marketing stuff. If there is an open house, you're going to order balloons. You're going to make sure you have your signs. You're going to set out your signs and your balloons beforehand. You're going to potentially contact neighbors beforehand and let them know of the open house. You're going to let agents know of the open house. You're going to market on Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram that you're doing an open house. So that's all like pre-listing sorts of stuff. Then there's checklists for once you're under contract. And then there's checklists right before closing, and there's checklists post-closing. Let's just say it's a post-closing checklist, because now that gets back to your lead generation. Okay. So a post-closing checklist could mean adding the property to a pop by checklist, because you're going to pop by the house that you've just sold to like welcome the people who have now moved in and see if everything's okay. Or if they're your buyers that just moved in, you're going to check on them. So in your post-closing checklist, you're going to contact your new people a couple times. See, is everything the way they thought it would be? Do they have any questions? Always ask if they need vendors. That's another source of lead generating. Actually, good source of lead generating. I'm getting leads from vendors. When I say vendors, I mean like, just say a buyer moved in and they did a reconstruction project. A remodeling project, and you're checking on them and you like, oh, I'd love to come over and see your remodel. And now like, oh, who'd you use for a contractor? Great. Did you love them? Oh my gosh, you love them. May I have their phone number? I'd love to, compliment them on their work and connect with them too. And now you reach out to that vendor and you let them know, like, I just saw the workmanship that you did in such and such a property. It's so great. Do you mind if I, send you referrals? I was really impressed and they were impressed. So now you can add them into command as well. And you can tag them as maybe an allied resource or a vendor, however you want to tag them. Or if it says, what do they do for work? They're an electrician or whatever it is. So when you reach out to those vendors periodically as another source of business, you also want to come from contribution by periodically just saying, how is business? What kind of person would be the best person for me to send to you, or periodically give them a lead and maybe rotate through those 3 electricians if you have 3 in your database, and they will be giving business to you too. So that's another source of business for you where you can, ask people, if you don't even know people yet, just ask your own friends that live in an area, who have you used for your lawn care and your painting and your remodeling and, hair and whatever else. And so that resource list is another lead generation source for you. They might not be a buyer or seller, but they could end up being affiliated with other buyers and sellers that you have. Or if somebody doesn't have work, you could say, ideally, what kind of job would you want to have? I actually know a lot of people. What kind of work would you ideally want to have if you did have a new job? And then reach out to this other, that company and just say, I know a person and you guys shorthanded and, I don't know a lot about them, but would you like me to connect you? So it's just another way to like reach out to people, and you could think of that as a category for your lead generation source. So in the follow-up checklist part, you're finding out, you're contacting people post-closing. You're now changing their information of like, now you have an anniversary date of their closing that you've changed in command. So then you can be pulling up anniversary dates to wish people like a happy 1 year or 2 year anniversary of their closing. You can change up like where, like a smart plan in terms of now information in the new location where they live, what's happening in their neighborhood. So one of those neighborhood searches, and then based on what other information you have now found out about their Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, you have more information to give them. And then also put it into your calendar that in March of the following year, you want to make sure that they have applied for the homestead exemption, so you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to them in December or January and say, you may have lost your closing settlement statement, but your accountant might need it for tax reasons. Would you like me to send you another one in the mail? They'll be so grateful that you're doing that. Most of them forget those. So it's another touch of the year, and you could put that into your post-closing checklist, which then basically starts the funnel all over again, because now it's post-closing, but it's like it starts the cycle again of you lead generating with them. And then it could be waiting another till the school year starts, and how are your kids like in the new school system. So anything that you do, any steps that you ever do, add them to a checklist so that you're creating your own checklist. So it's not like randomly that you're doing one thing and then you forget like this really cool thing that you had done. So you're creating a checklist, which includes a handwritten note too. Like, really enjoyed working with you. It's been, really great. This is something I'm grateful for in whatever way, or you might have learned something from them. So add the handwritten note into your checklist. Okay, so for the scripts, we can do a couple of scripts too. Let's look in, okay, Michael Foley had put in the download for the Ignite Spark script book. So if we all go into the chat and then pull up the Spark, that's one way to get it, unless you have it handy dandy where you are. Okay, I have mine saved. Which one is the participant guide, the one that's the scripts? Nope, not that one.
The one that I printed says Ignite 2.0 script book.
Okay. I know I already saved on the top of my screen before we started this, but I have so many things up there. I'm just like, which one is it? Okay, that's the student workbook one. Okay, I found the script book one. Okay, so for the script book, let's see, who wants to pick one of those scripts and we'll do it together. You want to do new to real estate or? Let's see. Does anyone have one they want to choose? All right, how about calling personal and professional service industries? All right, that one is on page 10. Because anyone can do this if they're more experienced or not. Okay, so I'll give you guys just a few seconds to pull up page 10 in the Ignite script book. It says on the bottom of page 10, but it also says page 14 for some reason. But at the top, it says calling personal and professional service industries. Okay, so Trevor, do you want to do that one with me?
Sure. Are you the agent?
Sure. No, you be the agent, because that way you'll do more talking.
Okay. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hello. Is this
Oh,
Heidi?
yeah, on my, let's just say my service is, let's just say I'm a plumber.
Okay. Heidi, how are you today? I'm Trevor from Keller Williams Realty. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm well. Hi,
Good.
Trevor.
So the reason I'm calling is I'm in the process of creating a list of preferred businesses and service providers to give to my clients. Since I frequently have clients ask me for a good plumber, and I actually do most of my own work, so I don't know anyone. And you were referred to me by some people, and I only want trusted companies to refer them to. Since my friends have referred you, I was wondering if you would be interested in being included in my list.
So you mean you're not gonna, if they call you, you're not gonna do the work for them? Because you said you do your
No,
own.
I wouldn't be. I actually wouldn't be able to. It's against the law.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I am super busy these days. It seems like with the everyone's building and everyone's renovating. So I'm not even sure if I can take on new clients. Do you intend to do work in this local area?
Yes, I do. I've been working in this area and a couple towns around. I appreciate your honesty about not being available. Would you like me to still add you to the list, or that's just not possible right now for you?
No, I absolutely would love for you to add me to the list. I appreciate that. Who is the person that recommended me, by the way?
Johnny Nash and
Johnny.
Sarah Miner. They
Oh,
said you worked on their properties a couple times.
okay. Yep, I remember them. Nice couple.
Yes, very nice. And they highly recommended you.
No, it was an enjoyable experience. Well, great. Yeah, thank you for adding me to that list. So,
You're welcome.
okay, so that's sort of the end of that script, right?
Yep.
Now let's say if we can kind of take that further too. And you did say like you appreciated that I was honest in saying that I was really busy.
Mm-hmm.
You could have asked me potentially, I'm curious to know, do you like what kind of plumbing do you like to do the most? Or do you concentrate more on residential or commercial, or you tend to do new builds or, plumbing repairs? Are you the kind of guy that people can call in the middle of the night if they have a clog? You could ask me a little bit more
Okay.
if you wanted to.
Nope. Good idea.
You could also ask me potentially, what is the best way that I like to be reached? Is it text? Is it phone? You could also try to glean some more information from me. Like, are you personally thinking of buying or selling a home? Or is there anything I can do for you real estate wise?
Okay.
Um,
I didn't really ask some of those questions because I felt that you were too busy and you didn't want the business. I think if you had said, yeah, I'd always take new clients. I'm pretty busy, but I'll always do what I can. And then I maybe would have asked more questions like that.
Yep. And so that's good. I mean, you could wait for sort of the second part of the approach. I might also feel impressed by you as I get to know you as a professional. If I maybe hear more questions or keep the conversation going, even though I said I was busy, I didn't actually jump off the phone yet. So, I might've been on lunch break with, or just had a cancellation or something and I had time to talk. So,
Okay.
I'm just, challenging you on this, but,
Good points.
yeah. And okay, so now let's see if we could try that second one, and the one that says creating referral partnerships with business owners you've not done business with. It's on the same page.
I'm just scanning through it real quick here. Okay. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, this is Trevor from Keller Williams Realty here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, this is Heidi. You're
Hi,
looking
Heidi. Hi, exactly who I was looking to get a hold of. So listen, I'm calling because I'm in the process of creating a list of preferred businesses and service providers to give to my clients. I frequently have clients who are always asking for a good plumber. I'm looking for a trusted company that I can refer them to. I've heard good things about your company. Would you be interested in being included in my list?
Well, I'm curious, like, who did you hear from?
Well, I've heard from 3 of my friends. One is Steve Dapri. One is Laura Holly. And the other one is my mother, Cheryl Grist. But I've also
Here's your
seen your
mom?
name pop.
Oh,
And I've also seen your name pop up on the local community website quite a bit, that people are always asking for plumbers. They say, call Heidi.
right. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in being on that list. I just so you know, it's just kind of an FYI. I don't like to be the go-to person to go give the quote and then not get work. So, I would want you to be very discriminating if you're giving out, a name. I know that a lot of real estate agents, because of their inspections, they're looking to just understand what something would cost, but don't have the intention of using that person that they're getting the quote from. So, I just would like you to keep that in mind, just because my time
Okay.
is valuable.
So how can we get around that?
Well, I think that just you being very upfront when you are calling me, but really what the purpose of the call is, what the nature of that request would be. I do good work, and by the way, I went to high school with your mom, so
Oh, that's awesome.
yep. So I do know her in Worcester. And so, just to kind of keep in mind that also I do exceptional work. And so I'm not one of those plumbers that likes to get my fee knocked down to be the lowest quote. It's more that, if the fee gets paid, you're getting the best work possible.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. Nobody wants to waste their time, do they?
Correct.
I'll make sure I keep that open with the clients. Would it help that if you got a quote fee? As if I recommended you and said, listen, this is the person you want to use, they will charge a fee to make sure that their services are being accepted and not their time
yeah.
isn't wasted.
Yep, that is a really good idea. And now, Trevor will kind of stop the scripting for a second, but that is actually something that I do with why I think some of my vendors or I'll take you off screen share for a second. Where's the screen share button? Okay. All right. So I think part of the reason why I am getting referrals from some of these vendor kind of people is that I am valuing their time. And so when I suggest for a buyer who needs a quote based on a home inspection, is I'll let them know, like, look, if you have somebody come out and you're looking for a written quote, it makes sense to offer to pay them maybe $75 for their time to do that. And, are you okay with that? And if my client says yes, then I let the vendor know, so-and-so really needs a quote and they really need it by 2 days from now because their inspection period ends. I'm wondering if you have time in the next couple days, and they're willing to pay you $75. Is that okay? That is showing like mutual, like a win-win. The client's getting something and the vendor's getting something, and I'll be getting a referral because they're going to want to refer me if somebody needs an agent because they know I actually value them too. So it's this really cool win-win. So it's like just always thinking about how can you come from contribution. Now, another thing you could add to your checklist for a seller checklist or buyer checklist is when you're talking to people, or if it's not even just the seller checklist or buyer checklist, but in general, when you're doing your lead generating, you can have in mind that if somebody doesn't need to buy or sell a home, well, if you are a homeowner, are there any projects you have that are going to be going on in the future? I know a lot of people that could be of service to you. Is there anything that you need the name, anyone you need the name of, plumber, electrician, or anything? I'll be happy to connect you with somebody if you don't have somebody. And so then, and also if you're going to be calling, just say for sale by owners, you could, in your lead generating to them, you could also be saying something like, it might be a great idea since if you're thinking of doing some remodel projects, maybe just have me over. We can go through, there might be something you were thinking of doing that you really don't need to spend the money on or the time on. So if you'd like, I'd go over and just give a really objective eye and see if I can be helpful in any way. Because if you're going to spend money on something, you want it on the right things that really will get you the most return for your investment. And people appreciate that. You're, again, coming from contribution and you're offering something in those calls. So you could have a topic of discussion when you're doing, in your day of doing lead generation, that you're focusing on that one particular thing in your calls. And just maybe track that, say like, when I said that one thing, when I asked that one question, was that a value to more people than not? And if it was, then maybe you keep that as the topic that you're going to be talking about the next day for the next group of calls or something like that.
Heidi, I do have a question on that note, because I hear that a lot as far as what things around the home should be improved. Very new agent here.
Yeah.
And so what class would you recommend for somebody that's new to recognize what kinds of things would possibly bring value or not?
Okay, that's a great question, Rosa. So what I have actually done is for that one is I've Googled what kinds of home improvements give you a good ROI, return on investment. And you'll notice that there'll be lists in different parts of the country, depending on the seasonality, the weather, like in some parts of the country, keeping your pool in really great condition might be very relevant, but here in New England, nope, that's not going to be a big thing. So I definitely have noticed that there are trends and that there's, it's different depending on the time, the season, and depending on the location geographically that it is. So I get my lists from that. Like it will tell you potentially if like what, and it might actually go over like what the dollar amount return is. I've noticed like if you spend X on refinishing hardwood floors, what kind of money you get back for that, or replacing garage doors, or, as opposed to like replacing your cabinets or something where you might be spending so much money, but you're not getting as much for it. But maybe repainting your interior for very little gives you a huge return on investment, or painting the front door, or cleaning up the shrubbery. So if you read through those lists before you go on your listing appointments, I find that helpful. And also it's a really great topic that you can bring up in your lead generation call. Yeah. And if somebody shows up for an open house, you can ask them. Typically, people who come to the open house are either a buyer looking to buy, or a seller getting ideas for their own house to eventually sell. Which one are you? Because the sellers will want to be there incognito, as if they're just like pretending that they're looking for a house to buy, when really they're just like either checking you out to see how professional you are and how you conduct an open house, or they're getting ideas so they know, what they should do for either staging, or how clean something should look, or really what that price is for a house that's like theirs. So kind of call them out on it. So other things, let's talk a little bit about the erase and replace, because you, in the life of a real estate agent, a day in the life when you're spending too much time on one particular thing, or not accomplishing everything that you're supposed to do, like lead generating every day, or not spending a good amount of lead generating, like at least 2 days a week or something. Whatever you put down on your calendar to do that you didn't have time to do, you have to figure out where else on your calendar you're going to replace that same activity. So if you erase from one area, you replace it somewhere else. And if you have to shift something else that was less important, then keep reprioritizing, because the only way to have business is to go get the business. So you have to be making the calls. So a day in the life of the real estate agent has to include lead generation. And you want to include not just people, if you are already a more experienced agent and you're getting some repeat and referral clients, you want to make sure you're also adding new people to your database. Okay. And then in terms of procrastination, like I would maybe journal, either do a check-in with yourself in the middle of the day or at the end of the day, and like have a conversation with yourself, if it's like in writing or talking on the phone, and saying, what was I doing today that was actually a money-making, lead generating activity? Or what was I doing that was just busy? Or what could I have really cut out of my day? I mean, I am so good, seriously, at procrastinating. Not for my clients in terms of deadlines. I always meet the deadlines, but I am so good at procrastinating that I actually made a procrastination list for myself, so that if I'm going to procrastinate on something, then at least I could procrastinate on other things that also needed to get done, which is kind of like erasing and replacing, So like now I make these like gargantuan amounts of food. So when I'm constantly like passing through the kitchen to go to the bathroom, and of course I'm going to eat something because the refrigerator's there, that at least it's healthy stuff that I'm eating. So if I'm going to eat a lot more vegetables, at least I'm not taking the time to cook them, and I'm getting something healthy. So I'm procrastinating at least with something healthy for myself. I will, but you could make, like, if you could think of 5 things even yesterday that you did that were procrastination things, fess up. Let's hear them. Share, please.
I was supposed to do the back brakes on my truck, and that didn't happen. Well, it ain't gonna happen today either.
Okay, so that was something personal that you would have done for yourself. So how about something business related?
I didn't get my bills done again.
Okay, so if you didn't get the bills done, and you're going to suffer one of two pains. One is the pain of regret that you didn't get it done. What was the pain of you not doing it then? What is the consequence of you not doing it?
So many other things I had to do, running out of time and energy.
You kind of ran out of time or energy. So if you had that, did you have it on your calendar?
Yeah, it's been on for a month.
So could you change the color, what it's on the calendar at a different time of day?
The only way I can get to it right now, I've been so busy, is possibly getting up even earlier in the morning, which is a torturous thought.
Okay, what if you did it at the end of today so that you don't have even the weight of all the emotional weight of it being on your...
Yeah, that's my plan every day. I just keep running out of time. Everybody's got me booked.
I hear you. Okay, but at the same time, you're making your lead generation calls.
Yes.
So if you missed a bill and you had to pay a late fee, it sounds less painful than you potentially getting a listing where you're going to get paid on it.
True.
So you're going to suffer one of two pains anyways. So you're choosing which pain you're doing. And obviously the pain of getting the bill paying done is not paramount yet.
No one's knocking at the door yet.
Right. When they knock at the door and get in the way of your closing of yours, then that's going to cause some pain. But you might want to journal about all that, because once you journal about it a little bit, I'll bet you anything you'll get it done. So, when we do the same thing and get the same results, and I'm guilty of this too, but when we get the same results because we're doing the same thing, then the only way to shift it up is to do something differently, to change the path. So like you'll always be in a habit of this forever unless you kind of change the path. So you may really seriously want to journal about it, and see if you can just have a different frame of mind to do with those bills, or hire out for somebody to do your bills for you because you evidently just don't like it, or you would be doing it. I mean, my grass wasn't getting mowed because I really didn't want to be doing it. And so I finally hired out. Now it's mowed. Now I just have to do one more closing to pay for all the times I'm getting my lawn mowed. That's all. So everybody else throw out some kind of procrastination thing so we can kind of delve into it a little bit.
I probably, thinking of yesterday, spent too much time reading the New York Times and Bloomberg online, all the financial papers.
Okay. So if you were to think about your interest in reading Bloomberg and getting financials, how can you turn that into actually a benefit to you and your clients?
I tend to stress on what Bloomberg's saying is happening in real estate. Of course, he's looking nationally or internationally, not locally. And that's number one. And I'm always very, coming from the securities industry, I'm very interested in what the markets are doing.
Okay. Do you work with investor clients?
Oh, yes. I've worked with investor clients for decades.
Okay.
But KW doesn't do much with investor clients versus other contacts I have outside of KW.
Have you gone to Mega Camp?
No.
Well, there's a Mega Camp coming up, and there are people, mega agents, who you could like seek out for investor clients and maybe form like a mastermind group so that you're using your interest and your procrastination to something to your benefit or the benefit of your clients.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else procrastinates with something that they want to share, that they want to fess up about, because we can take it as a learning experience? Arthur White, Western Massachusetts.
You know, it's funny because I was just going to fess up and then you called my name. So I guess I have to now. I think my biggest procrastination right now, and like somebody else said, this is only 3 weeks for me. And you said it earlier, I think I'm spending too much time learning, like trying to learn rather than actually implementing it. And I actually have a call with my coach after this class, and so I'm actually going to bring it up to her and have her kind of kick me in the butt and tell me to stop or do something else.
So back to the idea of like trusting your instincts and then knowing that like if you stay in the learning phase only or mostly, you're not going to get clients and you won't have anybody to the idea of failing forward. You know what I mean? You're going to be not achieving because you're not doing. But if you try to do something, then you'll fail forward because your potential mistake will be more evident to you to know how to change them, to tweak what it is you're doing. So you want to give yourself opportunity to fail forward. Gary Keller talks about like failing forward is like part of the process. Like we want to fail forward. We also want to fail forward fast, you know, get back on your feet really quickly, but like learn from it. So you have to stumble in order to learn. And, you know, unless you only want to be in this business to be learning, then if that's your goal, then that's your goal. But if you also want to make money, then you would need to allow yourself the opportunity and freedom to make those mistakes. Give yourself permission that it's okay not to be perfect.
Well, that's part of it. I actually have 2 very strong leads for buyers that I'm going to be working with soon because they're both in the process of getting pre-approved. And I think it's my fear of failure by not knowing how to move forward with this. So I'm spending so much time learning, I think in advance, but I don't know if it's working for me.
Right. But you don't have them as buyers yet?
I'm just waiting for both of them to get pre-approved. They actually both went to their lenders and they're just waiting for their letters. So I should be hearing probably tomorrow. And then I'm gonna meet with them. We already planned on meeting this weekend either way, so I can just kind of give them some ideas about the process.
You could also take a more experienced agent with you just to kind of like assist if necessary, if there's something that you're forgetting to bring up or point out or something like that. You could do that. And you could also go to a couple properties, just like Lourdes did with her husband. You know, she practiced with him. You know, you could go to make a showing appointment with a friend or family member, and just so you're like talking out loud about like, oh, what do I like? What do I need? What do I want? What could change? And just so you're kind of not practicing on the buyers for the fear part, you know, you're practicing on somebody else before the weekend, potentially. But just start trusting yourself that it's okay to fumble. It's okay to make a mistake. We're in a solutions oriented business. So we're always taking some kind of problem or situation and having to find a way to spin it around. So we are problem solvers. And so it's okay that we're having a problem ourselves. We can just, sometimes it takes a little while to go find the answer, to have to figure it out. It's all part of the process.
Thanks.
Sure.
I need to ask you something. So when you start this business, and it's for 80, or when you start this business, how did you start? It was just for classes? You have a coaching? How did you start it?
I knew nothing about it. I actually got into it because I was bankrupt and I had no choice and I needed to earn money fast. And so I knew nothing about the business, and I did start and just like got my license and like took like a month-long class the day after I decided to go into the industry. And then 3 weeks later, I got my license. And then 2 days later, I was with KW. And then I spent probably 3 months, it seems like, almost straight in the classroom until I got up one day and I was just like, I think I can go and knock on some doors. And one person said to me, and I know it was raining that day, and one person said to me, like, I can't believe you're knocking on doors in this neighborhood. Like, didn't you know that, like, I don't know, Faith somebody or Sage somebody or other, she has this whole neighborhood, you know, she lives on the street. And then the same person just said to me, though, wait a second, it's raining out and Sage never would have done that. You're the one actually knocking on doors. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like, wow, you're really brave. And so I realized, like, oh, 2 different mindsets, and someone's going to, like, tell you something that beats you down, and somebody else says something, in this case it was the same person, that elevates you. And I was like, you can choose whatever it is that you want to hear. But I knew that I had to get up and leave the classroom to go do that. And like, I still remember it because it was that big of a deal. It was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I have the confidence, like I can actually go and knock on a door today. So I left the classroom. It was like 3 months in, I left the classroom and I'm like, I can go do this. Now I came back to class, but I started implementing a lot more. And I do remember, like, some of the lead gen things I said, and sometimes when I still say, I'm like, I can't believe I said it like that. It's like, came out so awkward. I just would rather put a shoe in my mouth or something, you know, but like, oh, well, if I didn't say it at all, then I won't get that business. So, you know, and also we're not the only industry where people awkwardly say things. I mean, almost everybody in every job has stuff they're just like fumbling and just like not perfect over and learning. And, you know, think about like when Zoom started, people, you know, you were like going to Zoom classes probably with people who were also learning Zoom. And these were like people we might have thought as professionals. And they're just like, I don't know where this button is. And like, oh my gosh, I just lost you. I can't believe I'm talking and I've been muted. And like, you know, people are people and people are learning, and people just seriously want to know that you're listening, you care, you're going to help them find an answer to something, and you are dedicated and you're devoted, and the rest will fall into place. And if somebody doesn't want to work with you because of it's not a personality match, then next, you know, like, don't worry about it. Know that like you still attempted it.
I want to do it in my neighborhood, but I'm shy. And English is not my first language. It's Portuguese is my first language. So I'm really shy. The verbs, everything. If I do wrong, what to say and knock on the door. I don't know what would I say in the beginning. So I'm really scared how to do it.
And also like know that your imperfections makes you more relatable to other people, which is kind of funny. It's kind of counterintuitive, but like, I swear to you, I spent the first 2 years, I am not kidding. I spent the first 2 years psyching myself up for going on appointments because I didn't like my hair. And I thought like people are not going to like me for my hair. And then I was like, I'm like, I have to get over this somehow. So I went into a class and I was like, okay, this person is tall, this person's short, this person's big, this person's small, this person has long hair, this person's bald, this person's old, this person's young. Yet some of everybody was successful. And it was like, I got over my hair thing. Like I got over it. It's like people don't notice the thing that you think that they're going to notice. So if you have an accent and you're self-conscious about your accent or you're shy, as long as you're caring and you're trying to do a good job, and you're going to let them know you're going to like find the answers, you're going to come back with some information. That's what they want. That's what they care about. The rest, it just makes you relatable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have like less than 15 minutes left. Let me see what else I should be going over. Can you share your market information via social media or email? Somebody wants to know that. Okay. Can I share my market information via social? So Michael, are you still on the call?
Yes, sorry.
What did you mean by that?
No,
Like,
that
you
was
want
more
to
for
share your market
David Elliott. That was more for David Elliott. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
For an idea for him, but now he's gone because he reads the New York Times and Bloomberg. So the way he could share his market information that he gets that day
That's a
with
fantastic idea.
his client, but
Right.
he's gone, so that's
It's a fantastic
really
idea,
matter.
though, Michael. And also, for all of us too, whatever it is that we are learning, since we're in the classroom or we're learning data or something, by posting something that you have learned, like on social media, means that other people are now getting information and people want information. And that's where I'm lacking. I, as much as I'm talking on this call, I also am shy. I am shy around saying something that is the wrong bit of information. So I tend to not put information out there because I'm afraid that like, oh, somebody's going to say like, oh no, that's not really it. It's something else. And so I psych myself out of that. Yet the same people who are looking for information are going to other sources for it, which means they're further separating themselves away from me because I'm not the provider of information. So I'm getting in my own head again. And I, like, stop it. I think I need to journal about that tonight, right, Trevor? I need to journal about that because you're laughing at me. So I need to feel
I have a
forward.
hard time reading without falling asleep.
So I need to fail forward. Jessica, yes?
I'm the same way. Like I'll start somewhere on a page and I'll be like, the cat ran fast. And I'm like, oh, I had a cat once. Like in my mind just goes. So I can totally relate to you, Travis.
All right. So now let's go over ahas. I would like all of you, please, to share one aha you had from the last few hours that is maybe going to change the course of something for you. Maureen?
I have one.
I had to unmute my video. I think the 80-20 principle was pretty eye-opening for me.
Cool. In that you can do a portion of it, but maybe leverage out some other portion of it. Somebody else.
Right.
Cool. Good. So your entire to-do list that you do all the time, you can do it as your 80-20.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Noah?
I was actually going to say the same thing, that it was kind of helpful to look at that in the sense that let's pick out what I'm good at, what I'm proficient in, and the things that might slow me up or take time away from what I'm good at, find a way to leverage them and, outsource those things.
Okay, good. Yeah, somebody told me about that like 5 years ago, and I've been doing that to-do list ever since. And it's amazing. I still don't have, the executive assistant to do all the rest of them. Yet when I do go to do a hire, like I'll be looking at my to-do lists and I already know like, oh, these things are for you to do and these things are for me. Yeah. Matt?
I think talking about kind of staying with the whole kind of outsourcing stuff, I look at it as outsourcing the whole thing. And I think when you broke down like the note cards, like you don't have to outsource the whole note card. You can kind of dive deeper and outsource only certain parts of things, not necessarily the whole activity.
Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, and another way I leverage my time with that sometimes is if I have a particular thing I'm going to be sending to like a neighborhood for information and let them know what I've sold in that area and now what else is on the market in that area, is I'll make it really tiny writing, but I'll put it into Word and I'll cut it out and put like 6 of them on a page. So now I can cut out the 6 on a page and just tape a piece into the note card. So I'm not like handwriting the same thing if I have 50 or 75 of them to go do. So I'm leveraging some of that. I'm leveraging the repeatable part of that. And the rest is still a handwritten note because I'm still saying, dear so-and-so, I'm still signing my name. And I'm definitely writing those handwritten notes with handwritten writing on the outside with some kind of funky stamp on it because I want them to actually open it. And if they think it's like junk, some kind of mass mail, they won't open that note card. So the sloppier you are on the outside, the more likely they're going to think it came from a person. So again, your imperfection is perfection. Trust your imperfection.
Boy, that's good for me then.
Yep. Yep. Don't be perfect. You're a person. People want to hire people. Mike, what was your biggest aha?
It would be the reiteration of delegating, that you don't have to take on everything yourself, especially if you don't like it. You can delegate. And just from all these ignites is that just don't be in your head. It's all kind of psychosomatic, that the 5 minutes that you might find embarrassing with a stranger is really not going to impact your grand scheme of life so terribly, that like they're not really thinking about it as much as you are. So it's fine. You just got to get yourself to do it.
Yeah. I've also found too that I try to keep in mind, if there's somebody that has to be uncomfortable in the room, I would rather be the one that's uncomfortable. So if I can do something to make them more comfortable, like, I don't know, if they use the word portico and I would call it a front stoop or something, well, I'm not going to correct them and say, it's really called such and such. It's like, I'll be the one that's uncomfortable. Let them be comfortable, because it's about them and not me. So I try to keep that in mind too. So I have a question for you guys. Since it seems like the 80-20 was like more important and the leverage part was more important to you guys, like, was the rest of what I was teaching, was that like okay or useful at all? Was it helpful, this class?
Oh, for me?
Yeah, the transaction
Yes.
checklist was good.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say
Oh,
the
no, that's not
80-20
sorry.
was certainly enlightful. But, I think as I continue on in my real estate career, it'll come in handy to know that I can outsource a lot of these activities. But also for me, what I called personal marketing with benefits was interesting, which is when you talked about possibly sending out the settlement statement as a reminder, do you have this? So always sort of leveraging just what you can bring to someone as a service where that can translate into you getting a lead. So I really enjoyed that part of it as well.
Okay. And it was coming from contribution.
Absolutely.
I think any tidbits we can get now, especially for us newer agents, is going to be helpful. Just knowing how experienced agents run their day was helpful.
Great. And then if it comes to like that, if anybody else really does have an issue with procrastinating, there's this great book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I read it. I don't read much, but I did read it, or I actually listened to it on Audible because I didn't want to read. And so in the book, though, he talked about habit stacking. And so it's like, while I'm on my way past the refrigerator to the bathroom, then I'm also going to drink water. And in the morning on the way to the bathroom the first time is I will fill up all the water pitchers so that they're filled up and I take less time to make cold water or whatever. And I know also if I get through all of the water pitchers by the end of the day, then I've drank all the water that I'm supposed to drink in the course of a day. So if you stack your habits one with the other, while you're putting on your pants in the morning, you're also doing a bunch of squats so you can get some exercise in. You're stacking the getting dressed with the squats, and right before I got out of bed to go put the pants on, I was journaling. So now I had you just start to stack a whole bunch of habits together. And the more habit stacking you can do, the more efficient you are with your time. So anyways, it's a cool book. So was this class overall helpful? Cool.
Definitely some good takeaways from it.
All right, good. Okay. I wish you all the best, success, keep learning, write things down, especially make your goals smart goals, time-based, quantitative, write them down, do a little brain dump, write down what you want to do in the course of a day. And then in that course of a day, try to hit as many of those things as you can. Whatever you don't do and you've erased it from that day, replace it on another day, and you will all be successful and happy. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Cheers.